Elon Musk stood at the center of the stage, the bright lights casting sharp shadows against his familiar face. The air buzzed with anticipation. It was the annual Global Tech Summit, one of the largest tech events in the world, held in Silicon Valley, and all eyes were on Elon. He adjusted his black t-shirt and smirked. There was no doubt he was in his element. He was about to drop a bombshell. "Ladies and gentlemen," Elon began, his voice calm but commanding. "The future of humanity is not a question of if, but when. We're at a crossroads in human history. Technology can either save us, or it can break us. So, here's the challenge. Who among you can build the future of humanity in the next 10 years? Not just talk about it, but actually build it." He paused, letting the words sink in. "I'm putting it out there. Who's ready to change the world?" The crowd erupted into applause, but Elon wasn't done. He raised his hand, silencing the room. "And let me be clear," he continued, leaning into the microphone with a mischievous grin. "I'm not looking for the biggest corporation, the richest billionaire, or the loudest voice. I'm looking for something far more important, the people who will push the boundaries of what we think is possible. This is not just a tech race. This is about the survival of humanity. So let's see who can rise to the challenge." The room fell silent for a moment, the weight of his words hanging in the air. Then, just as everyone was digesting his challenge, something unexpected happened. A tweet appeared on the screen behind him. The tweet was short, but it was enough to send ripples through the crowd. "I'll take that challenge, and I'll do it better. Alex Carter, 10 years old." The tweet was from Alex Carter, a name that Elon Musk had never heard before. The username, @CodeKidAlex, was an unknown to the tech world, but the sheer audacity of the message sent a shiver down Elon's spine. A 10-year-old boy? Was this a joke? A publicity stunt? The crowd gasped. The media cameras quickly zoomed in on the tweet, amplifying it across the globe. The tweet went viral in seconds. "Who is this kid?" someone whispered in the audience. "A 10-year-old just challenged Elon Musk?" Elon's eyes narrowed as he stared at the tweet on the screen. Was this a fluke? Was it a glitch? But then, Elon did something unexpected. He smiled. It wasn't the smile of someone who felt threatened, but rather the grin of someone who appreciated the audacity. He leaned into the microphone. "Well, it looks like we've got a contender," Elon said, the excitement in his voice growing. "Alex Carter, you've just thrown down the gauntlet. Let's see if you can back up that bold claim." The audience erupted into applause again, but this time it wasn't just for Elon. The young challenger had captivated their attention. Elon turned to the camera and looked directly into it. "And for those of you watching around the world, hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough?" 10-year-old Alex Carter was sitting on his bed, his face illuminated by the glow of his laptop screen. He was in the middle of coding a new program, something that could predict economic trends using AI, when the tweet notification popped up on his screen. It was from Elon Musk. He stared at it for a moment, unsure if he was reading it correctly. "I'll take that challenge, and I'll do it better. Alex Carter, 10 years old." Alex blinked, then immediately rubbed his eyes. Was this for real? Had he just challenged the most famous tech mogul in the world? His fingers hovered over the keyboard. He hadn't planned it this way. He'd been tweeting tech ideas for months, but he never expected his words would land on the biggest stage of all. The problem was, he hadn't even finished the AI project he was working on. It was barely in the prototype phase. Still, he couldn't back down now. "Alex, what did you just do?" he muttered to himself, eyes wide with a mixture of excitement and fear. He felt the weight of the world suddenly pressing on his shoulders. The tweet had been sent. It was out there. He wasn't just some random kid anymore. He clicked on his phone to call his mom. She wouldn't believe it. "Mom, he began, but his voice faltered. "I might have just challenged Elon Musk." On the other end of the line, his mom, Sarah Carter, laughed, thinking it was a joke. "Oh, honey, that's cute, but don't get too worked up over it. You're just a kid. Elon's a billionaire. This is a huge world." But Alex was already too deep into the whirlwind. His tweet had exploded online. People were retweeting it, sharing it, commenting on it. The hashtag Alex versus Elon started trending worldwide. It was only a matter of time before Elon would respond. Alex stared at the clock, watching it tick, his heart racing. In that moment, everything changed. The boy who spent his nights coding in his room, dreaming of changing the world, was about to face off against one of the most brilliant minds of his generation. But what if he failed? Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? The future had just been set into motion. Elon Musk sat in the quiet of his office late that night, his fingers brushing the keyboard of his laptop. It wasn't the work that kept him awake. It was something far more peculiar. The tweet. The challenge from Alex Carter. A 10-year-old boy who, in a matter of hours, had become a global sensation. Elon had heard about prodigies before, young kids who excelled in fields like mathematics or programming, but there was something different about this one. Most prodigies were either pushed into greatness by their parents or groomed in some elite institution. But this kid? According to his bio, Alex Carter had no background in elite schools, no trust fund or high-powered mentors. He was just a kid from a small town in the Midwest, self-taught, coding by himself in his bedroom. Elon leaned back in his chair, his mind racing. He'd been doing this long enough to recognize potential when he saw it, but this was something new. A kid who had just tossed a challenge at him on a public stage. Who does that? Well, it's a bit like how I started, he muttered to himself. Elon thought back to his own childhood, to the boy who grew up in Pretoria, South Africa, a child constantly at odds with the world around him. His parents, particularly his father, never really understood him. A shy, introverted child, Elon had his nose buried in books about physics, engineering, space, and computers. By the time he was 12, Elon was teaching himself to program on his father's old computer, creating simple video games. He was a nerd, a geek, a dreamer, and like Alex, he didn't really fit in with the other kids. But he always had this nagging feeling, this sense that the world, in all its complexity, could be understood, manipulated, and changed through technology. He wasn't interested in sports or the usual kid stuff. His obsession was about understanding how things worked, pushing the boundaries of what was possible. By the time Elon was 17, he had already started dreaming of something bigger. He wanted to change the world, and he knew that with enough intelligence, drive, and sheer persistence, he could. But he hadn't expected to be where he was now, leading companies that were changing the course of humanity. As he sat there in his office, he saw Alex not just as a rival, but as a reminder of his own younger self. Who is this kid, really? Elon thought aloud, glancing at the TV in his office where footage of Alex's tweet played on a loop. How does a 10-year-old build something that can outsmart me? He smiled again, the challenge stoking the fire inside him. There was something exhilarating about it, something that felt right. Elon Musk was no stranger to risk. He had faced countless failures before. SpaceX had nearly gone bankrupt after 3 failed rocket launches. Tesla's future had been uncertain so many times that it had seemed like the company would be swallowed up by the larger, more established car giants. But Elon Musk was never someone to back down. His mind was constantly in motion, racing ahead, far beyond the current moment. It was his greatest strength and his biggest flaw. At 53, Elon had seen both the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. He had created Tesla, the electric car company that revolutionized the automotive industry. He had founded SpaceX, with the dream of making humanity a multiplanetary species. He had launched ventures like the Boring Company and Neuralink, all designed to push humanity forward. But despite all of his success, there was always something gnawing at him. A question he had never been able to fully answer. What's next? And now, here was Alex, a 10-year-old kid who had no business challenging him, but did it anyway. Elon's mind began to turn the idea over like a puzzle piece. This kid might be the answer to the question he'd been asking himself for years. What comes after space? What comes after cars and energy? But that was something for later. For now, Elon needed to respond. He opened his laptop again and typed a few words into Twitter, his fingers moving quickly. Well, Alex Carter, you've got my attention. Let's see what you've got. He hit send. Meanwhile, Halfway across the country, Alex Carter was lying awake, his mind racing. His laptop was still on, the constant buzz of notifications flooding his screen as people from all over the world shared his tweet. News outlets, tech forums, even popular YouTube creators began discussing the challenge he had thrown out to Elon Musk. But none of that mattered. The real challenge wasn't the social media frenzy or the headlines. It was whether or not he could actually follow through. Alex had never imagined that his casual, spur-of-the-moment tweet would explode into something so enormous. Alex had been obsessed with coding since he was 6 years old, the day his mom bought him his first computer. It was a hand-me-down, an old desktop with a slow processor. But to Alex, it was the key to a world of infinite possibilities. By age 10, he was already programming in multiple languages: Python, JavaScript, C++. His brain worked differently. He could see patterns and solve problems faster than most adults. He spent hours coding complex algorithms, teaching himself artificial intelligence and machine learning. While most kids his age played sports or watched cartoons, Alex was building a small, AI-powered assistant that could predict weather patterns and give detailed traffic reports. But he didn't do it for fame. He didn't care about impressing anyone, except himself. The pressure was mounting. Elon Musk, the very person who had been his hero for years, had just acknowledged his existence. This wasn't just a chance to prove himself to the world. This was his moment to show that age didn't matter, that intellect and innovation could come from anyone, anywhere, that he could be the one to change the world. But what if he couldn't? What if Elon Musk, a man who had already built a revolution in technology, was too much of a force to compete with? Alex sat up in bed, his laptop screen still casting a pale glow on his face. He was nervous, but more than that, he was excited. There was no going back now. The next morning, Alex woke up to the harsh beep of his alarm clock. He groggily reached for his phone and squinted at the screen. The flood of notifications from social media, emails, and text messages was overwhelming. His Twitter account was on fire, dozens of messages from strangers, tech bloggers, even high-profile engineers, all commenting on his tweet. "Kid's a genius. Elon just got called out by a 10-year-old. Is this a publicity stunt? Or is Alex Carter for real?" But the one message that stood out was from Elon Musk himself. "Let's see what you've got, Alex." The clock's ticking. Alex's heart raced as he read the message. His mom came in a few minutes later, her eyes wide as she saw the notification. "Alex, do you realize what just happened?" she asked, her voice a mix of excitement and disbelief. "Elon Musk, the Elon Musk, just challenged you back. This is insane." Alex barely heard her. His mind was already in overdrive. The clock's ticking. Elon had set a deadline. But what did it mean? What exactly did Musk want? "Mom, I need to think. Can you give me a few minutes?" She nodded, walking out of the room but giving him one last worried look. "You better not forget to eat today. And remember, I'm here if you need anything." As the door clicked shut, Alex opened his laptop again, scanning through the mountain of tweets and messages that had piled up overnight. His mind was still racing from the night before. What had he gotten himself into? But there was no time for second-guessing now. Elon Musk had responded, and that meant he had no choice but to go all in. Alex wasn't just going to back down. He was going to prove that he belonged on the same stage, that he could match wits with someone like Musk, even if he was only 10. His fingers hovered over the keyboard as he thought about his next move. What kind of challenge would he throw back? What would show Elon that he was serious and capable? Meanwhile, across the country, Elon Musk was sitting at his desk, reviewing SpaceX's latest plans for Mars colonization. But his mind kept drifting back to Alex Carter, the boy who had just upended his world in a way no one else had. For a moment, he considered ignoring the challenge. After all, how much could a 10-year-old really do? But then, the thrill of it all, the pure possibility, kicked in. Maybe this was exactly what he needed. Maybe Alex Carter, with his raw potential, was the answer to the question that had been nagging him for years. What if this kid's the one who solves it? Elon murmured to himself. He wasn't even sure what it was yet. Maybe Alex would be the one to crack the code on sustainable energy, or the next big breakthrough in artificial intelligence. Maybe he'd be the one who could take humanity to the next level. But if that was going to happen, Elon would need to see something spectacular. This wouldn't be just a simple tech duel. This would be the ultimate test of innovation, a battle of minds unlike any other. And Elon Musk wasn't going to hold back, not against a kid who had the audacity to call him out. His mind made up, Elon sent a quick message to his assistant. Prepare a conference call with the top engineers at Tesla and SpaceX. I want to brainstorm with them. We've got a new challenge on our hands. That afternoon, Alex set up a live stream. He wasn't going to face Elon Musk in person, not yet, anyway. But this was his platform. The whole world watching as he laid out his vision. He flipped open his laptop and logged into his streaming software, setting the camera up on his desk. Alex's hands shook slightly as he clicked Go Live. The screen flickered for a moment before the image of Alex appeared, sitting in his bedroom, surrounded by piles of tech magazines, coding books, and old electronics. His usual teenage bedroom decor was replaced by what looked like a small hacker's lair, complete with circuit boards, wires, and even a makeshift robot in the corner. "Hey, everyone," Alex said into the camera, his voice steady, but his mind spinning. "I know a lot of you are wondering what I'm going to do next. Well, here it is." He took a deep breath, thinking back to everything he had learned over the years. His mind wasn't like most kids his age. While others had dreams of sports, music, or being influencers, Alex dreamed of something else. He dreamed of reshaping the way the world worked, of creating something that could change the future. And now, in front of a global audience, that dream was within reach. "I'm not just some kid making random statements online. I'm going to prove that anyone, no matter how old they are, can change the future. Elon Musk challenged me, and I'm going to rise to that challenge," Alex continued, his voice gaining confidence with each word. A graphic appeared on screen behind him, showing a timeline of human technological progress. He spoke passionately about artificial intelligence, clean energy, and the future of space exploration. "But here's the thing," Alex said, a sly smile creeping onto his face. "We're not just going to talk about it. I'm not here for empty words. I'm here to solve real problems. Problems that matter. Problems like clean energy, AI ethics, and interplanetary travel. So here's what I propose to Elon." Alex paused for dramatic effect. He typed quickly, displaying a message on the screen for everyone to see. "I challenge you, Elon Musk, to a real-time hackathon. The task: develop an AI model that will predict the next big leap in sustainable energy. The first one to do it, successfully, wins. You've got 1 week. Ready?" Alex hit send, and a sense of calm washed over him. He knew this was bold, probably the boldest thing he had ever done in his life, but it was also exactly what the world needed: a tangible, actionable challenge. Something that could push the boundaries of human technology forward. A countdown began on the screen. The clock was ticking. A 1-week timer had just started, and with it, the greatest tech battle in history was about to unfold. Elon Musk stared at his phone in disbelief as Alex's live stream proposal appeared on the screen. "A real-time hackathon," Elon said aloud, raising an eyebrow. "Interesting. Very interesting." He couldn't help but chuckle. This was going to be fun. Without hesitation, Elon typed a message back to Alex. "Challenge accepted. Let the games begin." The digital clock in the top corner of Alex's screen blinked red. 7 days. The countdown had begun, and it felt like the entire world had just turned its attention toward him. The weight of the challenge felt heavier than he ever imagined. Not only had he thrown down a challenge to Elon Musk, but now he had to win. There was no room for failure. Alex ran his hands through his messy hair and stared at his laptop screen. The task was simple, yet profoundly complex. Create an AI model capable of predicting the next big leap in sustainable energy. He had a week. A week to beat Elon Musk, a man who had literally sent people to space and revolutionized the car industry. But Alex had something Elon didn't: time. He wasn't bogged down by meetings, press releases, or investor calls. He didn't have to manage thousands of employees. He could focus entirely on this project, and that was exactly what he was going to do. "All right," Alex muttered, as he opened his coding environment and began sketching out a plan. "Let's break this down." Alex was a master at breaking down complex problems. This challenge, though enormous, was still a problem to be solved, just like all the others he had faced. The first step was to understand what made sustainable energy so difficult to predict in the first place. He spent the next few hours sifting through academic papers, online articles, and research databases, looking for patterns. What were the key trends in renewable energy? What technologies were gaining traction? Where were the breakthroughs happening? He jotted down notes as he processed each piece of information, his mind running through algorithms that could help predict future trends based on past data. Step 1. Data collection. The foundation of any AI model was data. Alex spent the next several hours gathering data on various forms of sustainable energy: solar power, wind energy, geothermal, and battery technology. He accessed open-source datasets on energy consumption, the adoption rate of renewable energy, and emerging technologies. Step 2. AI model development. Once he had enough data, Alex began setting up his machine learning model. He would use a combination of supervised learning and deep learning techniques to create a model that could analyze historical data and predict future breakthroughs in energy. It wasn't just about predicting the most likely technologies, but also anticipating which technologies had the potential to disrupt the market. Step 3. Model training. This would take time. Training a deep learning model on a large dataset could take hours, sometimes days, but Alex was confident. He already had experience building models and fine-tuning them. He wasn't going to let the clock run out. He got to work, his fingers flying over the keyboard, typing out code in Python. In the background, his Spotify playlist played quietly, mostly instrumental tracks, perfect for focusing. He worked tirelessly, taking short breaks to eat or stretch, but his mind stayed laser-focused on the task ahead. Elon Musk wasn't taking this challenge lightly. In fact, he wasn't going to just play Alex's game. He was going to change the rules. As soon as he had accepted the challenge, Elon called a meeting with his top engineers and researchers at Tesla and SpaceX. He wanted to come up with his strategy, one that would crush any hopes Alex had of beating him. "All right, people," Elon began, standing at the front of a large conference room. "We've got a week. We're up against a 10-year-old kid who thinks he can predict the future of sustainable energy with an AI model. Well, guess what? We're going to show him what it really takes." He paced back and forth, already thinking ahead. "First, we need the best data. No random datasets here. I want access to the top-tier research, the proprietary technology, the stuff that no one else has. Tesla's battery technology, SolarCity's grid systems, everything we've been working on in terms of energy storage. We're not just predicting trends. We're going to create something revolutionary." One of the engineers, Jared, raised his hand. "Are we going to use Tesla's AI systems? The neural networks we've been developing for self-driving cars?" "Exactly," Elon responded with a grin. "We're going to make this an AI-powered leap. A real leap. We're not just making predictions. We're making breakthroughs." The team was energized. They had the resources, the data, and the talent to beat a 10-year-old. And while they weren't underestimating Alex, they knew that with the full force of Tesla and SpaceX's R&D teams behind them, the challenge was theirs to win. The first night of coding passed in a blur. Alex's eyes were bloodshot, but his determination had only grown. He had finished the first round of training on his AI model, and the initial results were promising. He had to run tests, adjust parameters, and ensure that his model wasn't overfitting to the data. The key to success was creating a model that could generalize well to new data, one that wouldn't just repeat patterns but could actually anticipate what was coming next. Come on, Alex muttered to himself as he watched his model run another round of training. The screen flashed with results, and for the first time, Alex allowed himself a small smile. His model had predicted the growing dominance of solar storage as a viable option for large-scale energy storage solutions. It wasn't a revolutionary prediction, but it was the beginning of something much larger. But the real breakthrough, the one that would put him ahead of Elon, was going to take time. It wasn't about predicting what would happen tomorrow, but rather seeing the bigger picture, looking at the intersection of technology, market demands, and energy efficiency in a way that no one had before. Alex rubbed his eyes. He had been awake for over 24 hours, and the fatigue was starting to set in. But he couldn't stop now. Not when he was this close. At SpaceX, Elon wasn't taking the same approach as Alex. While Alex was coding away in his room, Elon had assembled an all-star team of engineers and researchers to work on his project. His first move was clear. Data was everything. Tesla had vast amounts of data on energy storage systems, electric vehicle battery usage, and even customer preferences. They were going to use that information to build a better model, a faster one. Elon wasn't relying just on his AI experts. He also called in his best energy analysts, looking for insights into where the future of energy was headed. They spent hours scouring research papers and historical data, predicting how the energy market would evolve over the next decade. By the end of day one, Elon's team had already started building a prototype of their AI model, focusing on key areas like solar panel efficiency, battery life, and emerging grid technologies. They weren't waiting for the final prediction. They were going to start deploying the solution now. As the first 24 hours passed, both Alex and Elon had made significant progress. But with the timer ticking down, they both knew that it was only going to get harder from here. The next few days would determine who would win this battle of wits: Alex, the young prodigy, or Elon Musk, the seasoned genius with the resources of Tesla and SpaceX at his disposal. The world was watching, and neither of them was going to back down. The next few days were a blur of late-night coding sessions, research sprints, and countless cups of coffee. Both Alex and Elon were fully immersed in the challenge, each pushing themselves and their teams harder than ever before. The countdown continued to tick down on Alex's screen, relentlessly reminding him of the impending deadline. By the end of day 3, Alex had made significant strides. His model had started showing increasingly accurate predictions, and he felt the rush of excitement. The AI wasn't just looking at raw energy data anymore. It was beginning to make predictions about the next wave of sustainable energy. Alex could already see the framework for a revolutionary system in his mind. But there was one more piece to the puzzle: the application of the prediction. Alex needed to take his model one step further. It wasn't enough to predict which energy technologies were likely to emerge. It was about seeing how those technologies could be integrated into the real world, from large-scale power plants to home solar systems. That night, Alex worked on a new algorithm, one that could simulate the deployment of energy technologies on a global scale. He coded in a framework that would allow his model to predict energy adoption trends across different regions, factoring in everything from geography to politics, consumer habits to economic incentives. The room was silent except for the clacking of keys and the soft hum of his laptop. After hours of work, Alex hit run on the model for the final time. His eyes darted nervously to the results as they appeared on the screen. The model's prediction was startlingly clear. The future of energy lay in decentralized, localized systems, like small-scale solar grids combined with energy storage solutions that could be rapidly deployed in emerging markets. It was exactly the kind of breakthrough that Elon's companies were working on, but Alex's model had gone further, looking not just at technology, but at market forces, the human element. Alex leaned back in his chair, staring at the results in awe. He had done it. This was his final submission. But as he scrolled through the output, he saw something else, a small alert flashing in the corner of his screen. Warning: global data set incomplete. His heart skipped a beat. The model needed real-time data to be truly accurate. With only 3 days left on the clock, Alex frantically scrambled to gather more data, contacting universities, open-source platforms, and even reaching out to some of his online coding friends for help. He needed to fill in those gaps, or else everything he'd worked for would be meaningless. Meanwhile, Elon Musk and his team had been working at breakneck speed. By day 3, they had already built an impressive prototype, a neural network that used Tesla's proprietary data on battery life, grid usage, and consumer behavior. Elon's strategy was clear: combine Tesla's advanced AI with real-world data from the company's energy and electric vehicle operations. But the more Elon thought about it, the more he realized that just predicting energy trends wasn't enough. The real challenge wasn't forecasting. It was about creating a new technology, one that could change the game entirely. "Predicting is for amateurs," Elon said to his team late that evening, a determined gleam in his eye. "We don't just predict, we create." That night, Elon tasked his team with designing an entirely new type of energy storage system. They would use Tesla's existing battery technology as the foundation, but they would push it further, creating a supercharged battery capable of being deployed on a massive scale, quickly, and at a fraction of the cost of current solutions. It was a monumental task, but Elon was convinced they could pull it off. They had access to the best engineers, top-tier data, and the world's largest private space company working alongside them. "Get to work," Elon commanded, his voice tinged with excitement. "We've got 4 days left to make history." As the days passed, the tension between the two competitors intensified. Every time Alex checked his phone, there were new tweets about his progress. Tech blogs, YouTubers, and influencers were all keeping track of the competition. Some people were starting to believe Alex might actually win, while others still viewed Elon as unbeatable. The weight of the world was on Alex's shoulders, but despite the pressure, Alex kept his focus. He couldn't afford to get distracted by the noise. He had to finish the model, patch the data gaps, and get the results in before time ran out. Elon, too, was feeling the pressure, but his mind was still in overdrive. Each new challenge he faced only fueled his obsession. His company's latest designs were almost ready for prototype testing. With his engineers scrambling to finish, Elon spent his nights reviewing their progress, making adjustments, and continuously raising the stakes. It was day 5, and Alex had hit a wall. He had managed to fill in most of the missing data, but there was one key element he hadn't been able to resolve: real-time global energy usage trends. Without these, his model's predictions would remain incomplete and unreliable. Alex sat at his desk, staring at the screen in frustration. There was no time to wait for fresh data. He needed to make a decision. Should he submit the model with incomplete data, or should he risk pushing the deadline? He sighed, rubbing his temples. What would Elon do? He whispered to himself. He knew the answer. Elon would never settle for anything less than perfection. With a deep breath, Alex sent a quick message to a friend of his in Europe who worked on energy analytics. It was a long shot, but if anyone could help him, it was Jamie. Jamie had worked on renewable energy projects in France and had access to some of the world's most detailed real-time energy data. "Jamie," Alex typed, "I'm in a time crunch. Can you send me any real-time global energy data you have? It's urgent." He hit send. Now, he could only wait. As Alex waited anxiously for Jamie's response, Elon's team was pushing forward. They had made significant progress on the new battery prototype, a lithium-sulfur hybrid that Elon believed could outperform anything currently on the market. The new technology would lower costs and increase storage efficiency dramatically. By day 6, Elon's model was complete. It was bold, ambitious, and based on cutting-edge Tesla technology. But the truth was, Elon didn't care about predictions anymore. He was more interested in the application. He wasn't just trying to win a challenge. He was trying to change the world. His team had tested the new battery in several different environments, and the results were promising. The new energy storage system could be scaled up quickly, integrated into solar grids, and deployed in rural areas, offering an entirely new approach to energy storage. Elon leaned back in his chair, looking out at the city skyline. There were only 2 days left, and he was confident his team had the advantage. As the final days of the competition ticked down, both Alex and Elon were closer than ever to finishing their respective models. But the pressure was mounting. The world was watching. The entire future of sustainable energy seemed to hang in the balance. Would Alex's AI model predict the future of energy in ways no one had seen before? Or would Elon's innovative new technology change the game once again, proving that a visionary with resources could outpace even the brightest young minds? The timer was ticking. The clock ticked down, a constant reminder of the impending deadline. With just 48 hours remaining in the challenge, both Alex and Elon were at their breaking points. It was a race against time, and neither of them was willing to back down. Alex sat hunched over his desk, eyes bloodshot, the blue glow of his laptop screen casting long shadows on his tired face. He had just received a response from Jamie in Europe, but it wasn't the breakthrough Alex had hoped for. The real-time energy data Jamie had sent was valuable, but it still didn't fill in all the gaps. Some data sets were out of reach, locked behind expensive paywalls or complex government regulations. The model was so close, but not quite there yet. Alex bit his lip, frustration clawing at his insides. He couldn't submit the model without a complete data set. If he did, there was a chance the predictions could be off, rendering all his hard work useless. He looked at the clock, 36 hours left. The weight of the challenge felt heavier than ever. What would he do if his model failed? How could he justify having come this far, only to fall short at the finish line? Meanwhile, at SpaceX headquarters, Elon was taking a different approach. His model was finished. His battery technology was ready. It was bold, cutting-edge, and as always, groundbreaking. But as the final hours of the competition loomed, he began to doubt. His model was good, incredible, even, but was it enough to win? Was it truly revolutionary, or was he just playing it safe? Elon had always believed that true innovation didn't come from playing by the rules. It came from breaking the mold, from challenging the very systems that held the world in place. But this was different. This was a challenge based on data, predictions, and models. There was no room for error. As the clock ticked down, Elon stared at his computer screen, his fingers hovering over the keyboard. He was ready to submit, but something gnawed at him. Was there a way to take it further? Was there another layer of depth he could add to truly outclass Alex's predictions? He paced back and forth in his office, his mind racing. Then it hit him, the missing piece. If he could combine his battery technology with real-time energy consumption data, it would prove that the future of sustainable energy wasn't just about predicting trends. It was about shaping them. Get me the real-time energy usage data from Tesla's solar grid, Elon barked into his phone. We need to run a simulation. Back in his bedroom, Alex knew he was running out of time. He had just finished integrating the latest data set Jamie had sent, but it still felt like something was missing. It wasn't just about filling the gaps. It was about making the final prediction as accurate as possible. Alex took a deep breath and decided to take a risk. He decided to reach out to an unexpected source, his father. For years, Alex had kept his work to himself. His father, a respected data scientist in his own right, had always been supportive but never fully understood the scope of what Alex was trying to accomplish. But in this final moment, Alex needed someone with fresh eyes, someone who could help him see the pieces of the puzzle from a different angle. "Dad, I need your help," Alex said, dialing his father's number. His father picked up almost immediately. "What's going on, Alex?" "I'm stuck," Alex confessed. "The model is almost there, but I'm not sure if the predictions are going to be accurate without this last piece of data. I need help making the final leap." Alex's father, Dr. Richard Hargrave, had worked with AI models for years. He was a respected figure in the tech world, though he had stepped away from the limelight to focus on consulting. But he understood Alex's determination. "All right," Dr. Hargrave said, his voice calm but firm. "What do you need?" Alex explained his dilemma. The missing piece of the puzzle, the gaps in his data, and the looming deadline. "I'll help you," his father said. "Let's get creative." Back at SpaceX, Elon wasn't wasting any time. His engineers were scrambling to incorporate real-time energy consumption data into the model, while he prepared to make one final push. The new simulation, built off Tesla's solar grid data, was running in the background. Elon knew this would give them the edge. His model wasn't just about predicting energy trends. It was about seeing energy as a living, evolving organism. It wasn't enough to predict what would happen in the next decade. Elon wanted to shape the future. His new battery technology would make it possible to deploy energy at an unprecedented scale. Solar energy wouldn't just be an alternative. It would be the dominant force, powering cities and industries across the globe. Elon wasn't thinking small. He was thinking big, bigger than anyone had imagined. And if everything went according to plan, his new energy system would revolutionize the way the world thought about power. In the last few hours of the competition, Elon did what he did best. He pushed. The team was still running simulations when he decided to make the boldest move of all. He called in a team of engineers to begin building a prototype of the new system. "This is about more than winning," he told them. "It's about changing the world." With just 12 hours remaining, Alex's father had arrived at the solution. They spent hours working together, making small tweaks to the model, running simulations, and analyzing the data. By the time the clock hit 2 hours left, Alex's model was complete. The prediction was clear. The next major breakthrough in sustainable energy wouldn't come from large, centralized systems like the ones Elon was working on. Instead, it would be driven by a decentralized approach. Communities, not corporations, would control their own energy sources. Solar panels, batteries, and energy-efficient grids would create localized systems that would dramatically reduce the world's reliance on traditional power plants. It was a bold prediction, one that was risky, but Alex believed in it. He took a deep breath and clicked Submit. As the clock ticked down to the final seconds, both Alex and Elon had completed their work. Both were exhausted, each having poured their heart and soul into the challenge. They had each gone further than they'd ever thought possible, and now, all they could do was wait for the results. The final submission window closed, and the world held its breath. The final submissions were in. The world had been watching, waiting for the big reveal. Elon Musk, the billionaire innovator known for his ventures in space, electric vehicles, and energy, had submitted a revolutionary energy storage technology that promised to change the global energy landscape. On the other hand, Alex Hargrave, the young prodigy who had been pitted against Elon from the start, had crafted an AI model that predicted the future of energy through a decentralized approach. Both were groundbreaking in their own right. But now, it was up to the panel of esteemed judges to determine which vision would take the lead. Alex sat in his room, watching the clock tick away. It had been nearly 24 hours since the final submissions had been uploaded, but still, there was no word from the judges. He had worked tirelessly on his model, pushing every boundary and analyzing every dataset, but now the waiting game was unbearable. He glanced at his phone. Nothing. No updates. No notifications. Come on, Alex muttered, tapping his fingers nervously on his desk. His thoughts spiraled. Did the judges think his decentralized energy system was too risky? Was his AI model flawed in some way? The uncertainty gnawed at him. He needed to believe that his approach, his prediction, was right. But even as he sat there, waiting for a message, a creeping doubt began to settle in. Maybe his model wasn't as flawless as he thought. Maybe the decentralized system wouldn't scale as well as he hoped. Suddenly, his phone buzzed. Meanwhile, Elon Musk sat in his office, staring out at the stars through the glass windows. He was unusually calm. The competition was intense, yes, but he had grown accustomed to high-stakes battles. Whether it was launching rockets into space, building self-driving cars, or revolutionizing energy, Elon had always been about more than just winning. He'd been thinking about the future, his vision for the future of energy. The prototype of the new battery was still in the testing phase, and he was confident it would work. It was a game changer. But this competition, it wasn't just about one model, one prediction, one breakthrough. It was about proving something bigger, the idea that bold risks, even when they seem impossible, can lead to transformative change. Elon believed in the power of innovation, and he'd pushed his team harder than ever before. This model, built on Tesla's cutting-edge battery technology, could help solve the global energy crisis. But beyond that, it was about proving to the world that big ideas, when executed properly, could take the world to places no one had imagined. Wherever this goes, he muttered to himself, it will be worth it. It was mid-afternoon the next day when the email finally arrived. The message subject was simple: the energy challenge, final results. Alex's heart raced as he clicked open the email. The judge's decision was in, and the anticipation was unbearable. To Alex Hargrave. Subject: the energy challenge, final results. Dear Alex, after reviewing your submission and Elon Musk's, the judges have reached a decision. We were all impressed by your model and its vision of a decentralized energy system. Your AI's potential to predict and optimize energy patterns is beyond its years, and it shows a deep understanding of global energy systems and trends. Your model suggests that the next generation of energy solutions may not be centralized, but rather in the hands of communities themselves. This could reduce dependency on traditional grids and drastically increase energy equity worldwide. However, while your model is impressive, the panel has concluded that its application, while visionary, is still too early to deploy on a global scale. The data gaps you faced during the challenge, while understandable, presented too many uncertainties. It is a brave and bold idea, but it lacks the infrastructure and practical feasibility needed for large-scale implementation right now. Congratulations on creating a groundbreaking model, and please know that the future of energy does lie in the hands of thinkers like you. We believe you have the potential to push this model even further, and we look forward to seeing where you take it. Unfortunately, The judges have chosen to award Elon Musk's submission as the winner of this challenge. We encourage you to continue your work, and we hope you'll continue to inspire others with your vision of a better future. Warm regards. The Energy Challenge jury. Alex blinked at the email. It was not the message he had hoped for. The weight of the words seemed to crush him. He had come so far, worked so hard, and yet he had lost. Alex leaned back in his chair, staring at the screen. The words, "Congratulations on creating a groundbreaking model," felt hollow. He had come to see this challenge as more than just a competition. It was about proving to himself, to the world, that his vision for the future of energy could reshape the planet. A small, defeated sigh escaped his lips. But then, something unexpected happened. A message popped up on his screen. To Alex Hargrave. Subject, a different kind of win. Dear Alex, I just wanted to personally congratulate you on your submission. I was beyond impressed by your model. In fact, after reviewing your work, I've decided to take a different direction with Tesla's energy strategy. While the judges awarded me the win, I believe there's a future where your vision and mine can work side by side. We're going to need AI, real-time predictions, and data models to power the next generation of decentralized energy systems. I'm inviting you to join my team to work on a new project that will integrate your decentralized approach with our new Tesla battery technology. Together, we can push the boundaries of energy even further. Let's meet tomorrow. I want to talk about how we can make this work. Elon Musk. Alex blinked, rereading the email. Elon Musk, the same person he had just been competing against, was offering him a chance to collaborate, a chance to shape the future together. Alex's heart began to race. His dream hadn't died. It had evolved. This was bigger than just winning a challenge. This was about creating a sustainable future for the world. And now, for the first time, Alex truly realized something. Sometimes, winning means not just being the best, but being willing to work together for the greater good. With a smile, Alex typed his response. To Elon Musk. Subject, a different kind of win. I'm in. Let's change the world. Best regards. Alex Hargrave. It was the day after the challenge results were announced, and Alex couldn't shake the whirlwind of emotions he was still feeling. The sting of losing to Elon Musk, the one person he had been competing against for weeks, was fading quickly. But it was being replaced by something else, excitement. This wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. Alex paced around his room, his mind running through the possibilities. The email from Elon had been clear. This wasn't a rejection, but an invitation. An invitation to collaborate, to take his groundbreaking idea for decentralized energy and integrate it with the advanced technology that Elon had developed for Tesla. He had dreamed of moments like this, but never thought they would come so quickly. Working with Elon wasn't just an opportunity to learn from one of the greatest minds of his generation. It was a chance to make a real, tangible impact on the world's energy systems. After a long and restless night of thinking, Alex decided to take the plunge. He replied to Elon's email almost immediately, agreeing to meet and discuss how they could take their visions for the future and merge them into something bigger than either of them could achieve alone. Elon was already in motion. He had set up a meeting at Tesla's headquarters, a sprawling campus in California where engineers, designers, and developers worked tirelessly around the clock. The team was excited, buzzing with energy as they prepared for the collaboration. As the sun began to set over the Tesla campus, Elon stood in his office, looking at the horizon. He had spent most of his life pushing the boundaries of what was possible. From founding Zip2 to launching rockets with SpaceX, from building electric cars with Tesla to working on brain-machine interfaces with Neuralink, Elon had never shied away from thinking big. But this collaboration with Alex, was different. It wasn't just another product. It was a vision for the future of humanity. A vision where clean energy wasn't something to be fought for. It was something everyone could access. Decentralized systems, powered by AI, could democratize energy access. People could control their own resources and their own future. This was the kind of disruption Elon thrived on. He turned toward his team of engineers, who had already begun working on simulations to integrate Tesla's energy storage systems with Alex's decentralized model. They would need to be on the cutting edge of everything: AI, battery tech, energy grids, and real-time data collection. Elon was determined. They weren't just going to build a better world. They were going to redefine how energy worked, forever. The next day, Alex walked into the sleek, modern offices of Tesla. His stomach churned with excitement. This wasn't just any meeting. This was a chance to sit down with the person whose mind he had admired from afar for years. The fact that they were about to work together felt surreal. Alex was greeted by Elon's assistant, who ushered him into a high-tech conference room. The walls were lined with digital screens displaying graphs, charts, and energy projections. But what struck Alex the most was the energy in the room. It wasn't just the technology that was impressive. It was the people. As Elon walked in, Alex stood up to greet him. The two shook hands, and for a brief moment, Alex could feel the weight of the moment. The convergence of two minds who had both dedicated their lives to pushing humanity forward. "Alex, good to finally meet you in person," Elon said, smiling. "I've been following your work. You've got something special here." "Thank you," Alex replied, his voice a bit shaky but determined. "I've been following yours, too. I've always admired your vision for the future of energy." Elon nodded, his eyes sparkling with the kind of intensity Alex had come to recognize as a sign that he was in the midst of something big. "Well, let's make that vision a reality together." As they sat down at the conference table, Elon opened up his laptop, pulling up Tesla's latest energy models, along with real-time energy usage data from Tesla's solar systems. He began to explain how their storage solutions, combined with the smart algorithms they had developed, could change how energy was distributed on a global scale. "This," Elon said, pointing to the data on the screen, "is where the real power lies. If we can combine this data with AI models like yours, we can begin to predict energy patterns on a global scale. We can create a system that doesn't just respond to current energy needs, but anticipates the future and dynamically adjusts." Alex's mind raced as he absorbed the information. "And with my decentralized model," he said, "we could empower local communities to produce and distribute their own energy. People would no longer be dependent on centralized grids. They could become self-sufficient." Elon nodded, clearly excited. "Exactly. Decentralization is key. But we need to make sure that people have the technology to store and manage the energy they produce. That's where the Tesla systems come in. If we can make decentralized energy storage as ubiquitous as the solar panels themselves, we'll have a truly sustainable, self-sufficient energy model." Alex's excitement grew as they continued to discuss the technical details. The synergy between their ideas was undeniable. Each piece of the puzzle was falling into place. They weren't just trying to create a better energy system. They were building the framework for a new world. A world where energy was abundant, accessible, and sustainable for everyone. But even as the possibilities seemed endless, both Alex and Elon knew there would be challenges ahead. The technology was there, but it needed refining. The systems had to be tested. Data had to be analyzed. They would have to convince governments, investors, and communities to trust in the idea of decentralized energy. There were also the logistical challenges of scaling Tesla's battery technology to be as affordable and accessible as solar panels. "It's going to take time," Elon said, his tone turning serious. "But we're not here to take the easy road. We're here to change the world." Alex nodded. "I'm in this for the long haul, too. We're building something that can outlast us." They both sat in silence for a moment, the weight of the task ahead of them sinking in. It was going to be hard. There would be setbacks. There would be moments when it seemed impossible. But for the first time, Alex felt truly confident. He wasn't alone in this fight. The meeting ended with a handshake, but the real work had just begun. Over the next few months, Alex and Elon worked tirelessly, merging their ideas and expertise. Alex continued to refine his AI model, using Tesla's battery data to improve predictions. Meanwhile, Elon's engineers worked on adapting the Tesla systems to support a decentralized grid model. As their collaboration continued to grow, it became clear that this was more than just a partnership. It was a movement. Together, they were reshaping the future of energy, and the world was starting to take notice. The months following Alex and Elon's initial collaboration were a whirlwind of progress, setbacks, and breakthroughs. The world was beginning to take notice of their partnership, and their work was starting to shape the future of energy in ways no one had imagined. But the road ahead was not without its hurdles. The first major milestone came when Alex and Elon unveiled their prototype energy system, a hybrid model that combined Tesla's state-of-the-art battery technology with Alex's decentralized, AI-powered energy grid. This model was meant to serve as a real-world test of their theory. If it worked, it would be the first step toward disrupting the entire energy industry. If it didn't, well, they had to make sure it worked. The prototype was housed in a small town in Nevada, chosen because of its diverse population, strong reliance on traditional energy sources, and the accessibility of Tesla's existing solar systems. Over the course of several weeks, the team had installed the hybrid energy grid, solar panels, AI-powered energy management systems, and Tesla batteries that would allow the town's residents to produce, store, and distribute their own energy, independent of the local utility. But there was a catch. The system wasn't fully automated yet. The AI that Alex had developed still needed to be trained and optimized in real time, which meant there were still plenty of potential flaws to iron out. Any mistake in the system's predictions could lead to power outages, spikes in energy costs, or worse, complete failure. Elon wasn't worried. Not yet, anyway. He trusted his team and Alex's abilities. But there were others in the room who weren't so sure. The initial excitement surrounding the project had attracted attention from several sectors of the tech world, and not all of it was positive. Investors, utility companies, and even government regulators began to voice their concerns. Some believed that Alex's model, with its decentralized approach, was too risky, while others worried that it simply wouldn't scale in the way that Elon envisioned. At a pivotal meeting with some of Tesla's top executives and major investors, one of the leading investors, Richard Clayton, raised a serious concern. Elon, Richard began, his voice sharp, we've seen the prototype, but there's no guarantee this model will scale the way you think it will. How can we be sure that these decentralized systems will be cost-effective in the long run? Right now, it's a pilot project, not a proven solution. And the energy market is huge. You're talking about displacing billions in established infrastructure. Elon leaned forward, unfazed. This is not about incremental improvement, he said. It's about disruption. This system isn't just for today's energy market. It's for the future. We're building for a world where traditional grids don't have a monopoly on power. Alex, sitting quietly beside Elon, nodded in agreement. We've seen it with mobile phones, the internet, and electric vehicles. New technologies take time to scale, but once they do, they revolutionize everything. This energy model isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. The world needs cleaner, more sustainable energy, and decentralization is the key. Richard's skepticism wasn't easily swayed. And what if it fails? What if people can't afford these systems? What if it ends up being a niche solution rather than a global one? Elon's expression hardened, but his voice remained calm. If it fails, we learn and we pivot. But this is not about playing it safe. It's about taking risks for the sake of the future. We can't wait for the world to catch up. We have to lead. Despite the doubts, Elon and Alex pressed forward. They had their prototype set up in Nevada, and it was time to run the first major test. The plan was simple. Let the AI-driven system take full control of the town's energy usage, monitoring its efficiency, making adjustments to power distribution in real time, and optimizing energy production. For the next 72 hours, everything would depend on this system. Local residents were informed that their participation would help shape the future of energy, and many were excited to be part of this revolutionary test. But others weren't so sure, especially older residents who had spent their entire lives relying on traditional energy systems. The idea of AI making decisions about their energy usage was a leap of faith for many. As the test began, Alex and Elon sat in the control room, watching the live data streams. Everything looked promising at first. The solar panels were collecting energy as expected, and Tesla's batteries were storing it efficiently. The AI was adjusting energy flows to ensure that the town's needs were met at all times, with minimal waste. But soon, the first hiccups emerged. The AI predicted a sudden spike in energy usage, more than double what the system had initially forecasted. Alex's heart skipped a beat. The AI had overestimated the need, and the system began to draw more energy from the batteries than was sustainable. The town's power grid went from stable to precarious in an instant. "Alex," Elon said, glancing over at him, "we need to fix this fast." The AI's response was off by a huge margin. Alex's fingers flew over the keyboard as he dove into the data. It's recalibrating, but it's not fast enough. We're going to need a manual override. With just minutes to spare, Alex and Elon both worked furiously, manually adjusting the system's parameters. The pressure was overwhelming. They had come so far. This prototype was supposed to prove their theory. If it failed now, it would set back their entire project and potentially ruin their reputations in the energy industry. Elon gave Alex a steadying look. We'll fix this. You've built something incredible. Just trust the system. Alex's hands shook as he ran through the calculations. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the system began to stabilize. The AI corrected its predictions in real time, compensating for the unexpected demand. Slowly but surely, the energy distribution returned to normal. The system had passed the test, but barely. The next morning, both Alex and Elon sat quietly in the debriefing room. The test had been a success, but not without its challenges. The team had learned a lot in those critical 72 hours, especially about the importance of fine-tuning the AI's predictive capabilities. We've got work to do, Elon said, staring at the data reports in front of him. But we're on the right path. Alex agreed. We need more robust error correction protocols, especially for situations like this. The AI has to learn from unexpected variables more quickly. Elon smiled. We'll get there. This is the future, Alex. We're just a few steps away from making it a reality. As they left the room, Alex felt a surge of confidence. The journey ahead was uncertain. There would be more challenges, more tests, and more people who doubted their vision. But with Elon by his side, and with the world watching, they were ready to face whatever came next. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. What do you think of the prototype test? Do you think AI-powered decentralized energy systems can truly revolutionize how we use power? What challenges do you think Alex and Elon will face next as they move forward with this project? As the prototype project continued to make waves, the world was beginning to take notice. The potential of Alex and Elon's decentralized energy system was becoming more apparent, but so were the forces pushing back against it. As excitement around the breakthrough grew, so did the controversy. It started as a small ripple. A blog post here, a social media comment there. People, both excited and skeptical, began discussing the implications of the new energy system. Soon, however, the ripple grew into a full-blown wave, as media outlets across the world began to pick up the story. Headlines ranged from revolutionizing energy, Elon Musk and a teenager's vision for the future, to the danger of decentralized power, a future we can't afford. One particularly scathing article, published by a prominent energy journalist named Victoria Chong, quickly went viral. The article, titled, "Why Decentralized Energy Could Be a Catastrophic Mistake," argued that while the idea of decentralization might sound appealing, it was too risky and impractical. She warned that it would lead to unreliable energy grids, skyrocketing costs, and massive economic disruption. Victoria's article wasn't just a critique. It was a warning to everyone in the industry. Utility companies, government regulators, and energy investors took notice, and they were not pleased. Many saw Alex and Elon's collaboration as a direct threat to their established businesses. In an emergency meeting with Tesla's senior executives, Elon stared at a series of charts and reports on the screen. The numbers weren't pretty. Utility giants, who had long enjoyed the stability of centralized energy grids, were beginning to mobilize. They had started lobbying aggressively against decentralized systems, with a focus on the potential risks to grid reliability, energy pricing, and regulatory oversight. One report even outlined a massive disinformation campaign that would aim to undermine public trust in Tesla's decentralized energy model. There were whispers of legal challenges, regulatory restrictions, and public smear campaigns. This wasn't just about innovation. It was about the control of a $2 trillion industry. And the utility companies were ready to fight dirty. You knew this would happen, right? One of Tesla's executives, Samantha Jacobs, asked, glancing at Elon. They won't just sit back and let this happen. They'll do whatever it takes to shut us down. Elon leaned back in his chair, his expression calm. I knew it was coming, but it's part of the process. The status quo doesn't give up without a fight. We've disrupted industries before, and we'll do it again. We just need to stay focused. Alex, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. But we can't ignore it. This is real. If we're going to win this, we need to change the narrative. We need to show the world that decentralization is the future. Elon nodded. Exactly. We're not just building technology, we're building a movement. And like every movement, it will have its critics. We need to keep pushing forward and bring the people with us. As the media frenzy continued, public opinion about Alex and Elon's energy model began to divide. On one side, there were tech enthusiasts and environmentalists who saw the decentralized model as a dream come true, a way to democratize energy and reduce dependence on fossil fuels. These supporters rallied behind Alex and Elon, creating online campaigns and petitions to show their support. On the other side, there were skeptics and traditionalists who feared the unknown. They worried about the practicality of the model, the risks involved in a massive energy transition, and the economic implications of dismantling the established grid system. Many of these people were vocal, writing op-eds, speaking out on TV, and spreading negative press about the project. The controversy reached a boiling point when Alex appeared on a live television debate with Victoria Chong, the journalist who had criticized the decentralized energy model. The debate was heated, with both sides arguing passionately. Alex, despite his age, handled himself with confidence, countering every argument Victoria made with facts and data. The real question, Alex said during the debate, is whether we are going to cling to the past or embrace the future. Our current energy system is outdated, inefficient, and harmful to the planet. This isn't about disrupting the status quo for the sake of it. It's about creating a sustainable future for all of us. Victoria shot back, but what you're proposing is risky. We don't even know if these systems will work on a large scale. You can't just experiment with people's livelihoods and expect everything to fall into place. Alex paused, his mind racing. He had anticipated the criticism, but hearing it from someone so influential in the media made it feel more personal. We're not experimenting with people's livelihoods, Alex responded, his voice steady. We're building something that will give people control over their own energy, reduce costs, and lower their carbon footprint. And it's already working in real communities right now. The debate ended in a tie. Neither side had swayed the other, but it was clear that Alex and Elon had struck a chord. For every critic, there was a growing legion of supporters. Just as Alex and Elon were gearing up to expand the decentralized energy model to more regions, the first major setback occurred. The system they had implemented in Nevada, while mostly successful, experienced a critical failure during a rare but significant heat wave that affected much of the Southwest. The temperature soared beyond predicted levels, and the system's AI struggled to account for the extreme demand. The energy grid, despite the best efforts of Tesla's engineers, faltered. Several homes experienced power outages due to the system's inability to respond quickly enough. The failure was not catastrophic, but it was enough to fuel the critics' claims that decentralization was simply too unreliable. The media immediately pounced on the failure, amplifying the voices of skeptics who argued that this was proof the model was unfit for widespread adoption. Headlines screamed, "Tesla's decentralized energy model fails in heat wave," and "the flaws of the future. Can decentralized energy really work?" Back at Tesla's headquarters, the mood was tense. Elon paced around the room, his mind working overtime. Alex sat quietly, unsure of what to say. This was the moment he had feared, the moment when the dream of decentralization seemed just a little too out of reach. "Alex," Elon said finally, his voice calm but serious, "what do you think? Do we go back to the drawing board?" Alex looked at him, a mixture of frustration and resolve in his eyes. "We don't give up. This is just one failure. Every big idea comes with its challenges. If we're going to change the world, we have to face setbacks head-on. We can learn from this." Elon smiled, his faith in the project unwavering. "That's why I'm glad we're doing this together." The failure in Nevada was a harsh reminder that innovation didn't come without risks. But instead of retreating, Alex and Elon doubled down on their efforts. They reviewed every piece of data, learned from the mistake, and began developing solutions to make the AI smarter, more adaptable, and better equipped to handle extreme conditions. As the project moved forward, it became clear that this journey would be filled with setbacks. But each failure brought them closer to success, and with every challenge, Alex grew more determined. They weren't just trying to change the energy industry. They were rebuilding the very fabric of society's relationship with power. The failure in Nevada had cast a long shadow over Alex and Elon's ambitious vision. The media was relentless, and the pressure from investors, utility companies, and government regulators was mounting. Yet, despite the setbacks, the young genius and the seasoned entrepreneur remained determined to push forward. They knew they were on the verge of something transformative, but they had to overcome the doubts and criticisms if they were to succeed. After the Nevada incident, the team worked around the clock. The AI system, which had once been hailed as the key to decentralized energy, needed a major upgrade. It was clear now that it wasn't enough to rely on pre-programmed predictive models. The system needed to be more dynamic, more adaptive to unforeseen circumstances. They had to create an AI that could evolve in real time, adjusting to changing energy needs and weather patterns instantly. Alex, who had spent the last few weeks deep in coding and system analysis, was the first to propose a solution. What if we teach the AI to predict weather patterns better? He suggested. Not just in the short term, but in real time as conditions change. We need to anticipate spikes, not just react to them. Elon, always quick to see the potential in an idea, nodded enthusiastically. You're right. If we can get the system to learn on its own, adjusting to weather, power consumption, and even human behavior, we could make it far more reliable. It was a bold plan, one that would require significant resources and time. But for Alex, there was no other choice. This was the future, and he couldn't afford to back down now. They started with a massive data integration overhaul. Tesla's AI engineers worked alongside Alex to create a predictive model that could not only understand power usage but also weather systems, local geography, and seasonal trends. The goal was to anticipate every possible variable in the energy landscape. With the new AI model in place, the team needed to test it under extreme conditions. They set up an experimental test zone in Arizona, one of the sunniest, hottest states in America. This time, they were ready for anything. The test began in the late summer, when Arizona's temperatures routinely soared above 110 degrees Fahrenheit, 43 degrees Celsius. The new AI system, now infused with real-time weather forecasting abilities and smarter predictive algorithms, was tasked with managing both solar energy collection and consumption for a small suburban town of about 15,000 people. From the moment the system went live, it was clear that the new AI was performing better than ever. The weather predictions were accurate, and the system adjusted energy output accordingly, ensuring that there was enough stored power for peak usage times while avoiding any strain on the local grid. Residents experienced seamless energy distribution. No blackouts, no disruptions, and surprisingly little fluctuation in costs. For the first time in months, Alex and Elon allowed themselves to feel a sense of relief. The new system was working, but they both knew that this was just the beginning. They had taken one step forward, but they still had a long road ahead. This success had to be replicated on a larger scale, and the challenges they faced from their critics were far from over. With the Arizona test a success, Elon and Alex were ready to approach the next phase, scaling the decentralized system. The next step was to prove to their investors that their system could work on a nationwide level. But just as they were about to present their findings, they received an urgent call from Tesla's major investors. Elon, Samantha Jacobs, Tesla's chief of operations, said on the phone, "We need to talk." The board's getting cold feet. They're worried the project's costs are ballooning, and the recent media backlash isn't helping. There's talk of pulling back funding unless we deliver results, and fast. Alex could hear the tension in Samantha's voice. He knew that despite Elon's confidence, the financial stakes were high. Tesla was burning through resources faster than they had anticipated, and with the energy industry giants still putting up resistance, this project wasn't guaranteed success. Elon sighed deeply but remained calm. "Tell them to trust the process. We're just getting started. The system works now. We just need to scale it and prove it. This is our opportunity to change the world, Samantha. We can't back down now." But even as Elon spoke with unshakable confidence, Alex could see the strain on his face. They needed results. Fast. As Tesla and Alex's team began expanding their decentralized energy system to more regions, it became clear that their biggest challenge wasn't the technology or the public perception, it was politics. The government, particularly the Department of Energy, had always been aligned with the large utility companies. Most of the country's energy policies were built around traditional grids and fossil fuels. Now, Tesla and Alex were challenging the very foundation of the energy industry. A meeting was set up in Washington, D.C., where Elon and Alex would meet with government officials to discuss the future of energy in America. The goal: to secure support for their system and ensure that regulatory barriers wouldn't derail their progress. As they entered the sleek government building, Alex couldn't help but feel the weight of the moment. This was no longer just about proving their technology. It was about convincing policymakers that decentralized energy was not just a viable alternative, but the only solution for the future. The meeting room was filled with politicians, energy lobbyists, and regulatory experts. The energy giants had been lobbying hard to keep their monopolies intact, and they had the ear of many in Washington. This was going to be a battle of ideas, and it would take all of Elon and Alex's ingenuity to win them over. The conversation began with the usual questions. How reliable was the technology? What about security risks? Could it be scaled quickly enough to meet the needs of the country? But Alex wasn't nervous. He had spent months developing a pitch that he knew would resonate. "This is a solution for the future," Alex began, standing at the front of the room. "A future where we no longer rely on outdated energy grids. A future where every home, every community, has the ability to produce, store, and use their own energy efficiently and sustainably. We've already proven this model works on a small scale, but we're ready to scale it nationally." One of the senior government officials, Senator William Reynolds, who had been an outspoken advocate for traditional energy companies, raised an eyebrow. "And how do you plan on dealing with the economic fallout from disrupting the current infrastructure? You're talking about billions of dollars worth of investment in centralized grids. What happens to all those jobs?" Alex looked him in the eye. "What happens to those jobs if we don't change? Climate change is already impacting millions of people. We can't afford to stick with a broken system. Decentralized energy can create thousands of new jobs in sustainable industries: solar panel installation, battery tech, AI development. The future is green and decentralized. And we can get there if we have the political will to do it." Despite the pushback from some of the more entrenched figures, the meeting took an unexpected turn when Representative Lisa Harris, a young, forward-thinking politician, spoke up. "I've seen the numbers," she said, her voice steady but passionate. "And I've seen the impact of what Alex and Elon are proposing. We're at a crossroads, and we need to decide whether we're going to stick with the status quo or create a new, more resilient energy system for the future. If we don't act now, we'll be left behind." Her endorsement, combined with growing pressure from environmental groups and the public, began to sway the political tide. The meeting ended with the first tentative promise of federal support, a crucial victory for Alex and Elon. As they left the building, Alex felt a surge of hope. For the first time, it seemed like they were beginning to break down the walls of opposition. The momentum was shifting. After the meetings in Washington, Alex and Elon found themselves at a tipping point. With some political backing secured, a successful AI test in Arizona, and their technology working at a small scale, the battle now lay in scaling up and moving forward into uncharted territory. But with victory so close, the challenges grew even more intense. Elon sat in his office late one night, reviewing the plans for the next phase of the project. The stakes had never been higher. Tesla's stock had risen in response to their success in Arizona, but there were still deep concerns from investors about whether they could replicate it on a nationwide scale. The political support was helpful, but it was only one piece of the puzzle. "We need to make sure we can scale this thing up without losing quality," Elon said, pacing in front of the whiteboard filled with schematics. Alex was at his side, tapping away at his laptop. "The decentralized system needs to be adaptive and responsive not just to weather but also to local behavior patterns. The system should learn to prioritize energy differently in different regions based on the population's needs and patterns." Elon turned and smiled at Alex, impressed by the depth of his insights. "You're right. It's not just about the infrastructure. It's about understanding how people use energy and learning to anticipate those needs." Alex's face lit up. "Exactly. If we understand consumption habits down to the hour, the system could optimize itself in real time, without human intervention." It was a revelation. But even as they fine-tuned the technology, they were acutely aware of how much work was left to do. Scaling this new energy grid would require thousands of solar installations, battery farms, and smart grid technology. The timeline they'd given themselves was ambitious, too ambitious, perhaps. But neither Alex nor Elon was the type to back down when the odds were stacked against them. As Tesla's decentralized energy system grew closer to implementation on a larger scale, the global spotlight intensified. The media frenzy had never really gone away. Now, however, the narrative was changing. No longer were they just pioneers. Now, they were contenders for a spot in the pantheon of history. But with that came new critics and new challenges. One of the most formidable voices came from Gregory Ross, the CEO of one of the largest energy conglomerates in the world, Renaissance Energy. Gregory was a towering figure in the traditional energy world and had made his name by aggressively investing in fossil fuels and nuclear power plants. He saw Alex and Elon as the greatest threat to his empire. On the evening of Tesla's announcement about expanding their decentralized energy grid, Gregory appeared on CBS News with a scowl on his face. "The promises made by Elon Musk and his young protege are dangerous," he said. "While they claim to offer a greener solution, they're not taking into account the complexities of energy distribution. Decentralizing energy could lead to chaos in the grid. Imagine thousands of small power systems all trying to work together. It's an accident waiting to happen." Gregory's words quickly reverberated across social media, and his criticisms were widely quoted in the mainstream press. He made his position clear. Centralization was the only way to ensure the future of energy. The attack from Gregory Ross stung, but it only motivated Alex further. He wasn't just fighting for a better energy future. He was fighting for the belief that things could change, that new ideas could make a real impact. He couldn't let the establishment continue to push back out of fear or greed. Sitting at his desk late one night, Alex tapped into his thoughts. What would it take to turn the tide completely in their favor? He needed something more than just the facts. They had the data, they had the results. But the world needed proof that decentralized energy wasn't just a dream, but a practical, powerful solution that could change everything. Alex's fingers danced across the keyboard as he typed an email to Elon. He needed Elon's help to create something grand, something that would not only prove the viability of their system but force even their harshest critics to take notice. The idea was bold and risky, but that was exactly what Elon was known for. The plan was simple. They would demonstrate the decentralized energy system in the largest, most visible way possible. They would implement their system in an entire city. Not just any city, but a major urban area that was grappling with high energy costs, frequent outages, and increasing environmental concerns. They needed to prove that their system could not only power a large city, but transform the entire energy landscape. "We're going to launch it in a city," Elon said after reading Alex's email. "We'll start small, implement the system in a pilot city, but we need it to be large enough to make an impact. Let's show the world that decentralization is the future, not a pipe dream." The city they chose was Phoenix, Arizona, a sprawling metropolis with a growing population and significant power challenges. It had the potential to be the perfect test case. With a year of preparation, the first decentralized energy model would be ready for live deployment. The morning of the launch was electric with anticipation. Crowds gathered in Phoenix to watch the unveiling. The team had worked tirelessly for months to prepare the city for this bold experiment. Hundreds of solar panels were installed on rooftops, battery banks were set up in key neighborhoods, and the smart grid technology was tested extensively. Elon and Alex stood together in the middle of a public park, surrounded by reporters and camera crews. The sun beat down relentlessly, but the energy in the air was palpable. They were ready. Elon grabbed the microphone, his voice booming across the crowd. "Today, we begin the next chapter of humanity's relationship with energy. We're not just talking about a future powered by renewable sources, we're showing you how it can work today." Alex stepped forward, his expression confident. "The system we're launching today is more than just technology. It's a new way of thinking. A future where energy is democratized, where people have control over their own power." As they activated the system, the streets of Phoenix lit up with the power of the new decentralized grid. Solar panels on thousands of homes and businesses started to send electricity back into the network. while batteries stored power for later use. Phoenix residents could watch real-time data on their phones, seeing how much energy they were using and how much they were contributing to the grid. The test in Phoenix was nothing short of a success. The system functioned flawlessly. Within days, energy consumption in the city dropped, and the cost savings were immediately visible. By the end of the week, reports began flooding in from both the local press and the broader energy world. The decentralized model was working. Phoenix was no longer reliant on centralized power stations. It had become a self-sustaining energy ecosystem. As news outlets from around the world reported on the success, Elon and Alex became the darlings of the tech and sustainability communities. But their victory also triggered something unexpected, a massive shift in the energy debate. For the first time, even critics like Gregory Ross had to acknowledge the system's potential, though begrudgingly. The momentum Alex and Elon had built with this public test was undeniable. As Phoenix thrived under its new decentralized system, other cities began to inquire about making the switch. What started as an audacious idea was now a real, functioning alternative, one that was changing the energy landscape in real time. The success of Phoenix sent shockwaves through the energy industry. What had started as a bold, almost reckless idea now seemed more like an inevitability. As the decentralized energy model began to prove itself, cities around the United States and beyond started knocking on Tesla's door. But while excitement was high, the road ahead would be anything but smooth. New obstacles, both external and internal, loomed large. Elon and Alex had envisioned a future where decentralized energy could power entire cities, even countries. But Phoenix, though a significant achievement, was only the beginning. Scaling the technology to other urban centers meant overcoming immense logistical and regulatory hurdles. "We need to move faster," Elon said, his voice tight with impatience as they sat in the war room, reviewing the results from Phoenix. The numbers were promising. Energy efficiency was up, consumption was down, and people were happier with lower costs. But the technology was still in its infancy, and deploying it across the entire country was a monumental task. Alex was scrolling through a series of engineering reports on his tablet. "The hardware is solid, but scaling it means we need a lot more manpower. Installation teams, battery suppliers, not to mention dealing with city infrastructure." He looked up at Elon. "It's not just about tech anymore. It's about logistics and supply chains. We need to be able to build this system everywhere. Fast." Elon nodded thoughtfully. "And the political resistance will be just as tough. We need more allies in Washington if we're going to break through the gridlock." While Elon's network of contacts had grown significantly over the years, the deep-rooted political and economic interests of traditional energy corporations still held significant sway. They weren't going to go down without a fight. It didn't take long for the opposition to regroup. Renaissance Energy, under Gregory Ross's leadership, launched a full-scale media blitz, questioning the reliability and safety of decentralized energy systems. They claimed that Tesla's new model was untested on a large scale and was irresponsibly risky for the public. The attack was coordinated across television, social media, and even public policy platforms, stoking fears about what might happen if a major blackout occurred in a city powered by solar panels and batteries. "This isn't just a technological shift," Gregory Ross's voice thundered during an interview on CNBC. "It's a political one, and it will destroy the very foundation of our nation's energy infrastructure. If we hand control of energy to thousands of individual homes and businesses, we risk total chaos." It was a clever tactic, attack the safety and security of the system in the public eye. The fear-mongering reached new heights as Ross capitalized on concerns about the vulnerabilities of the grid. He warned of hackers, natural disasters, and supply chain failures, each time painting a picture of a world on the brink of energy collapse. Alex, who had been fielding questions from the press for days, couldn't escape the barrage of criticism. He sat on a call with Elon, frustrated. "They're manipulating public opinion with fear, and some of it is sticking. People are scared of the unknown. We need a counter-strategy, and fast." Elon leaned back, his fingers tapping on the table. "We show them that our system is more reliable, not less. We need to demonstrate that decentralization isn't just safer, it's more resilient. We don't just need to prove that the technology works. We need to prove that it's more secure and more reliable than the current grid." The moment had come to take the fight to the next level. If Tesla's decentralized energy system was going to be adopted on a national scale, Alex and Elon needed to hit back hard at their critics and show the world that their vision wasn't just a pipe dream. They needed to prove that their system was safe, scalable, and secure. Elon turned to his team and his inner circle for support. They organized a nationwide rollout plan, starting with the most progressive and forward-thinking cities, but ensuring that they had the technical and logistical capabilities to handle any pushback. At the same time, they ramped up their public relations efforts, launching a media campaign that highlighted real-life success stories from Phoenix, including interviews with residents who had saved money, avoided blackouts, and benefited from the greener, more sustainable energy model. One of the most powerful testimonials came from Sarah Jenkins, a mother of two from Phoenix, who spoke about the freedom she had gained by switching to solar-powered, grid-independent living. Her words were clear and compelling. Before Tesla's new system, we were at the mercy of the power companies. Our electricity bills were sky-high, and we had no control. Now, we're not just saving money. We're helping the planet. And we're more secure than we've ever been. Meanwhile, Alex and Elon doubled down on their technical development. They worked with the country's largest cybersecurity firms to ensure that the decentralized energy system was impenetrable to hackers. The system now had robust fail-safes, automatic self-repair capabilities, and real-time monitoring, making it far more secure than anything the current grid offered. As the rollout expanded to cities in California, Texas, and Florida, the team faced a new, monumental challenge: integrating their system into existing urban infrastructures that were often outdated and incompatible with modern technologies. Elon's solution was clear. They would build the next generation of decentralized energy systems, dubbed Grid 2.0. This upgraded version would not only integrate seamlessly with existing infrastructure, but it would also allow cities to transition at their own pace. The first pilot city for Grid 2.0 was Dallas, Texas, a large urban area that had long struggled with power outages during extreme weather events. The grid was vulnerable to storms, heat waves, and other climate-related disasters. By integrating solar panels, battery storage, and intelligent software that could distribute energy more efficiently, Tesla's team hoped to prove that their system could make even the most outdated cities more resilient to climate shocks. The stakes were high. The system would be tested during the peak of summer, when temperatures in Texas routinely surpassed 100 degrees Fahrenheit 38 degrees Celsius. Power usage was at its highest, and the risk of blackouts was always a looming concern. Elon and Alex knew that if they could pull this off, it would be the game changer. On the day of the official launch, the sun blazed down on Dallas, and the eyes of the nation were on the city. Tesla's decentralized system was activated, and for the first time, Dallas was running on its own energy, sourced from solar panels, stored in community battery farms, and distributed efficiently through Tesla's smart grid. As the system came online, the data came in quickly. The city's energy consumption dropped by 25%, the battery reserves were full, and not a single blackout occurred during the scorching heat wave. The test was a resounding success. The results from Dallas reverberated across the globe. Within days, countries from Europe to Asia expressed interest in adapting Tesla's decentralized energy model. The future of energy was no longer about centralized control. It was about empowering communities to take control of their own power generation. As the national media began to cover the success of the Dallas trial, even some of the harshest critics, like Gregory Ross, were forced to admit that Tesla's system was more than just a novelty. It was the future of energy. But the work was far from over. Elon and Alex knew that the next phase would be the hardest yet, ensuring that Tesla's energy vision spread beyond the borders of the U.S., across the globe, and into the hands of every community that needed it. And so, the world watched as a new era of energy dawned. One powered by the sun, driven by innovation, and led by a genius team that was on the cusp of changing everything. The success in Phoenix, Dallas, and the growing adoption of Tesla's decentralized energy model across the U.S. had caught the world's attention. Governments, energy companies, and environmental organizations were now all grappling with a hard question. Could the future of energy be decentralized, and was Tesla's model the answer? Elon and Alex, riding the wave of momentum, knew the time had come to push their vision beyond America's borders. Global expansion was the next frontier, but with it came complexities far beyond what they had faced domestically. It was time to navigate the delicate politics of international relations, global energy infrastructure, and entrenched corporate interests. While the United States had been an ideal testbed for decentralized energy, other countries had different priorities. The global landscape was diverse, with economies at varying levels of development, from highly industrialized nations to emerging economies with growing energy demands. Many governments relied heavily on fossil fuels or centralized grids, making them resistant to change. Others, like some parts of Europe and Asia, were keen to leapfrog outdated systems with newer, cleaner technologies. Europe, with its forward-thinking environmental policies, was one of the first to embrace Tesla's ideas. The European Union's Green New Deal had already set ambitious targets for reducing carbon emissions and transitioning to renewable energy. Countries like Germany, Norway, and Denmark were eager to experiment with new, more sustainable energy solutions. Tesla's system, with its promise of greater energy security and cleaner energy production, was seen as a critical component of the EU's vision for a sustainable future. On the other hand, China, which had made impressive strides in clean energy development, viewed Tesla's decentralized model with caution. The Chinese government had invested heavily in centralized clean energy projects, such as vast solar and wind farms, and was wary of relinquishing control over its national grid. But they also knew that any viable energy solution would need to be able to serve their vast population and growing cities. Then there was India, where the challenges were much more immediate. The country's energy infrastructure was fragile, plagued by frequent blackouts and energy poverty in rural regions. India's booming population and economic growth placed an ever-increasing strain on the grid, but the need for low-cost, scalable energy solutions made decentralized energy an attractive option. Tesla's system, with its ability to deploy quickly in underserved areas, had the potential to solve some of India's most pressing energy crises. In Africa, the potential was even more profound. Many nations in Africa had energy access issues, with millions of people living off the grid. Decentralized energy could provide them with much-needed power in a way that centralized grids never could. Kenya, South Africa, and Nigeria were already making significant investments in clean energy, and Tesla's system was seen as a potential leap forward. Despite the positive reception in some regions, Tesla's global push was not without obstacles. For one, there was fierce opposition from large, entrenched players in the energy sector, multinational oil and gas companies, traditional power grid providers, and massive utility monopolies. These companies were fighting to protect their profits, and Tesla's success in decentralizing energy was a direct threat to their bottom lines. In addition to corporate resistance, regulatory hurdles abounded. Different countries had different laws governing energy production, distribution, and consumer protection. In some places, the regulatory framework was outdated and poorly suited to handle innovations like Tesla's decentralized systems. In an effort to unify their approach and bring the world's most influential leaders together, Elon and Alex organized a global energy summit. Held in Brussels, the heart of the European Union, the summit was designed to bring together government officials, energy industry leaders, tech innovators, and environmental advocates to discuss the future of global energy. The summit attracted attention from some of the most powerful players in the world. Elon Musk, as the face of Tesla, was invited to speak about the future of energy. But this time, it wasn't just about Tesla's technology. It was about convincing the world's leaders that decentralized energy was the key to a cleaner, more secure, and sustainable future. The current energy model is broken, Elon began in his keynote speech, addressing an auditorium filled with world leaders and industry moguls. For too long, we've relied on centralized systems that are inefficient, costly, and vulnerable to everything from climate change to cyber attacks. We need a new model, one that is decentralized, that empowers individuals and communities to control their own energy production. The room was silent, the weight of his words sinking in. He continued, "Decentralized energy isn't just the future. It's the only future if we want to address the climate crisis, provide energy access to every corner of the globe, and build a more resilient system. It's a system that works for everyone, from the poorest villages in Africa to the largest cities in North America." Alex joined Elon on stage, adding, "This isn't just a technological shift, it's a social revolution." This system is designed to give power back to the people. It's a world where energy is democratized and communities are in control of their own future. While the summit was a success in terms of raising awareness, the real challenge began in the aftermath. The idea of decentralized energy was controversial, especially when it clashed with the interests of some of the world's most powerful entities. Governments wary of losing control, energy giants protecting their profits, and corporations looking for control of the energy future would not give up their influence without a fight. But for every opponent, there were allies, environmental organizations, activists, and forward-thinking political leaders who saw the potential of a decentralized future. The momentum for change was palpable. In Europe, the European Union's Green New Deal seemed on the verge of embracing decentralized energy as a core pillar of its strategy. Meanwhile, India's government began piloting Tesla's energy systems in rural regions, with great success. Even in China, whispers of Tesla's technology began to surface as an alternative to its existing clean energy initiatives. After months of deliberation and detailed strategy sessions, Elon and Alex decided on the first two countries for Tesla's global expansion: India and Kenya. India, with its rapidly expanding energy needs, was a perfect fit for Tesla's model. The government had already recognized the importance of renewable energy and was eager to solve the problem of energy poverty in rural areas. If Tesla could succeed in India, it could prove that decentralized energy was not just for developed nations but for the entire world. Kenya, with its large rural population and efforts to embrace sustainable energy, represented a chance to demonstrate that Tesla's decentralized model could work in developing economies. If successful, it could unlock an entire continent, Africa, to decentralized energy, where millions of people lived without reliable access to electricity. As they prepared for the launch in India and Kenya, the challenges ahead were undeniable. There would be political battles, financial hurdles, and cultural resistance to overcome. But Alex and Elon knew they were up for the task. The future of energy was about to be written in cities, villages, and communities across the world. And Tesla, with its audacious vision and groundbreaking technology, was on the front lines of that fight. The global rollout of Tesla's decentralized energy system was underway. But as Elon and Alex prepared to launch in India and Kenya, they quickly realized that the challenges they faced weren't just technical or political, they were cultural and logistical. In both countries, the road to energy independence was rocky, with economic inequalities, existing power structures, and unfamiliar regulations all complicating their mission. Tesla's dream was still alive, but it had to weather several trials before it could take flight. India, with its complex infrastructure and diverse regions, represented both a challenge and an opportunity for Tesla. The country had one of the fastest-growing economies in the world, but it also faced an energy crisis, with over 300 million people still living without reliable access to electricity. Despite the government's push toward renewable energy, the country's centralized grid system remained deeply entrenched. Yet, India was also home to some of the world's most ambitious clean energy goals, making it a prime candidate for Tesla's decentralized energy solution. Elon and Alex touched down in New Delhi, the heart of India's political landscape, with high hopes but a deep understanding of the challenges ahead. The government had already expressed interest in Tesla's technology, but India's vast scale and political complexities meant they would have to navigate layers of bureaucracy before seeing any meaningful results. "We're not just launching a system here. We're opening up a whole new way of thinking," Alex said as they sat in their hotel room, overlooking the sprawling cityscape of New Delhi. They have to believe in the system's reliability, scalability, and its ability to empower local communities. Otherwise, we're just another experiment. We have to show them we're not trying to replace the grid. We're trying to complement it, Elon replied, tapping his finger on the table. If we can prove that we're scalable and affordable, they'll listen. Tesla's first move in India was to focus on a small, rural village in Maharashtra, where the electricity grid was unreliable, and people were forced to rely on expensive kerosene for lighting. The Tesla team quickly installed a solar-powered microgrid, paired with local battery storage, to power the village independently of the national grid. The response was immediate and powerful. Villagers were no longer dependent on centralized power or expensive fuel, and they had access to clean energy for the first time. Children could study at night, businesses stayed open longer, and families no longer had to worry about blackouts during the hot summer months. However, as the local success story spread, government officials and corporate interests grew wary. They were not convinced that such a small-scale success could scale to meet the energy demands of an entire nation. Elon and Alex had to make their case again and again, navigating the political labyrinth to show that Tesla's decentralized model was reliable enough to meet the needs of India's largest cities. The stakes were high, as other multinational corporations, including some from China, were vying for the country's renewable energy contracts. Meanwhile, in Kenya, Tesla was facing a different set of challenges. The country was part of the East African power grid, but large parts of the country, especially rural areas, were still completely off the grid. Energy access was one of the highest priorities for the government, but affordability was the primary concern. Many Kenyans lived in poverty, with limited access to electricity. They simply couldn't afford solar panels or high-tech energy solutions. "We have to make it cheaper," Alex said as they arrived in Nairobi, Kenya's capital. "These people are living on less than $2 a day. If they can't afford our system, then it's not going to matter how good it is." "We need to rethink the cost structure," Elon replied, his eyes scanning the city. "If we can bring down the cost of solar production and make the system more modular, maybe we can make it more accessible to people in the lowest income brackets." Tesla's solution was to build a community-based microgrid system that could serve entire villages, offering residents the option to pay in small, manageable installments. This pay-as-you-go model allowed Kenyans to purchase energy at an affordable rate, without the hefty upfront costs that typically accompanied solar solutions. The team also worked to form partnerships with local governments and NGOs to ensure that the energy systems were accessible to the most underserved regions of the country. Despite the progress, Kenya's long-standing energy problems weren't going to be solved overnight. Traditional energy players, many of them backed by international oil and gas companies, resented the encroachment of decentralized power systems and launched a media campaign against Tesla's expansion. As the first few months in both India and Kenya unfolded, Elon and Alex faced a major setback in India. Despite the glowing success of their rural microgrid, the project was met with skepticism from the Indian government, which expressed concerns over Tesla's ability to scale its decentralized system for large urban areas. The country's Ministry of Power announced that they were not ready to approve Tesla's system for wider implementation without more testing and validation. Elon was furious. "We've been testing for months," he said, pacing the room after the announcement. "They want more data, more evidence, more approvals. This is going to take forever." Alex, ever the pragmatist, took a deep breath. "We knew this would be a fight, but we have to keep pushing forward. This isn't just about proving the technology. It's about proving that decentralized energy is the way forward for India." While India's political delays stalled progress, Tesla's efforts in Kenya were starting to bear fruit. After installing solar-powered microgrids in several rural villages, the impact was undeniable. Local farmers were able to keep their crops fresh for longer with affordable solar-powered refrigeration. Families could cook at night without relying on expensive and dangerous kerosene lamps. Schools could stay open after dark for extra classes. The ripple effect on the economy was clear. In Nairobi, Tesla's team worked with Kenyan banks to create a microfinancing option for people to pay for energy usage. This would allow households to get clean energy without any upfront costs and pay it off as they went. Slowly, the model was proving that affordable, decentralized energy could work in an African context, especially if the system was made scalable. Kenya's government took notice. In a meeting with Elon and Alex, Kenya's Minister of Energy, Lorna Mwangi, expressed interest in scaling Tesla's solution to cover the whole country. "We see what you've done here," she said, looking over the data Tesla had gathered. "We're ready to make this a national priority. If we can prove that this can work here, it will be the model for all of Africa." Elon smiled. Progress in Kenya had opened up a path for the entire African continent to embrace Tesla's decentralized energy model. This success was a turning point. It was clear now that decentralized energy wasn't just a pipe dream for the rich. It could work in the world's poorest nations too. As the team celebrated their success in Kenya, they turned their attention back to India. Despite the setback, they knew that their microgrid system was the future. They just had to find the right way to convince the Indian government and industry leaders that Tesla's technology was the key to overcoming the country's energy problems. Elon looked out across the Indian Ocean, the weight of his task pressing on him. But he felt the energy, the excitement, the momentum building. Tesla's mission was far from over. They were just getting started. The world was watching, and the question was no longer whether decentralized energy would work. It was how fast it could be implemented across the globe. After months of struggle, setbacks, and hard-won victories, Elon and Alex were nearing the point where Tesla's decentralized energy system might finally become the standard for global energy production. The challenges were far from over, but the momentum was undeniable. India had proven to be a battleground of political red tape and corporate interests, while Kenya had shown what was possible when technology was applied in a region with no access to centralized power grids. The world was watching, waiting to see if Tesla could prove its model on a truly global scale. But even as progress surged in places like Kenya, the weight of political opposition and financial resistance continued to loom large. The next phase of the project would require more than just technological innovation. It would demand political diplomacy, strategic alliances, and an unyielding vision for the future. After the initial disappointment in India, Elon knew that Tesla couldn't afford to slow down. Their microgrid project had already been successful in rural areas, but they still needed government approval to expand it into major urban centers like Mumbai, Bangalore, and Delhi. The challenge now was convincing the government that Tesla's model was scalable, affordable, and would complement the national grid rather than compete with it. The breakthrough came in the form of an unlikely alliance. Nirmala Sitharaman, India's finance minister, was intrigued by Tesla's ability to bring affordable energy to the masses. She saw the potential for clean energy to become a major economic driver for India, both in terms of job creation and energy independence. At a crucial meeting in New Delhi, Elon and Alex pitched Tesla's vision for India. "We're not trying to replace the grid," Elon emphasized. "We're offering a complementary solution that can ease the strain on your grid and give millions of people access to clean, affordable energy where the grid can't reach. You have an energy crisis, but we have a scalable solution." Nirmala listened carefully, her face betraying little emotion. But after a long pause, she spoke. "I see potential," she said. "We're behind on our clean energy targets, and rural electrification is a problem that has resisted all solutions. If you can make this work, it could transform India's entire energy landscape." With that endorsement, Tesla was granted the permission to expand its pilot projects in rural areas and submit proposals for urban installations in major cities. It was a major breakthrough, and Elon and Alex wasted no time. They began the process of scaling their microgrid systems, setting their sights on India's biggest cities. Meanwhile, in Kenya, Tesla's efforts were rapidly evolving. The success of the rural microgrids had led to broader government interest in expanding the system across the country. But the path forward was still fraught with difficulties. Kenya's government, eager to provide affordable and reliable energy to its citizens, had been increasingly supportive of Tesla's decentralized model, but there was still the matter of cost. Kenya's population, though young and energetic, still struggled with poverty, and a pay-as-you-go model was the only way to make Tesla's system accessible to everyone. To resolve this, Tesla partnered with local financial institutions and NGOs to develop a microfinance solution that would allow people to pay in small installments, just as they would for a cell phone plan. The payment structure was designed to make sure that even the most economically vulnerable could have access to clean energy, while also ensuring that Tesla would remain profitable. The success of the microfinance program led to widespread adoption across rural Kenya, and soon Nairobi was the next target. The city's growing population and energy demands presented a new challenge: how to integrate decentralized energy into an already complex grid system. In a meeting with Kenya Power and Lighting Company, KPLC, Elon and Alex faced their biggest test yet. The company, a state-owned utility, had long held a monopoly on the country's electricity distribution, and its executives were skeptical of the decentralized model. "How can we trust you?" one executive asked bluntly. "Your system isn't proven in a city as big as Nairobi." Elon didn't flinch. "We're not trying to disrupt the grid," he replied. "We're trying to make it stronger by taking the pressure off your existing infrastructure." Imagine being able to deliver power to communities that were previously off the grid without relying on fossil fuels or coal plants. The conversation shifted from skepticism to curiosity. Tesla was granted a pilot project to integrate their microgrid technology into Nairobi's urban environment. The real breakthrough in both India and Kenya wasn't just about proving that Tesla's system could work in remote areas or impoverished nations. It was about showing the world that decentralized energy could be the cornerstone of a global energy revolution. Tesla's Powerwall and PowerPack batteries, combined with solar panels, were proving that distributed energy systems could reduce reliance on fossil fuels, lower electricity costs, and increase energy security. What made Tesla's system unique was the way it integrated smart grids with artificial intelligence, creating self-healing systems that could adapt to changing needs and local conditions. As Tesla's projects in India and Kenya began to gain momentum, the impact was felt far beyond those borders. The media buzzed with excitement about Tesla's success in transforming energy access for millions of people. The world's eyes turned to Elon Musk and Alex to see if they could truly bring the revolution to the rest of the world. Meanwhile, governments, investors, and corporations began to take a hard look at their energy futures. Tesla's model was no longer just a proof of concept. It was a solution that could address the global energy crisis. The International Energy Agency, IA, reported a significant rise in investment in renewable energy, driven largely by the success of decentralized energy systems like Tesla's. As Tesla's global success grew, China, the world's largest emitter of greenhouse gases and the second-largest economy, became an unavoidable challenge. While Tesla's systems had been met with skepticism in China before, the Chinese government now saw an opportunity to embrace decentralized energy as part of its ambitious green energy goals. But the Chinese market presented a whole new set of challenges. China's state-controlled energy sector was notoriously difficult to break into. Even with its commitment to renewable energy, the central government remained wary of foreign companies undermining its influence over the energy market. Elon, ever confident, had one strategy: partnership. Tesla began negotiating with Chinese companies to build joint ventures, allowing Tesla to deploy its technology while adhering to local regulations. The stakes couldn't have been higher. If Tesla succeeded in China, it would mark the final triumph of its mission to bring decentralized energy to the world. After successfully overcoming bureaucratic hurdles in India and gaining traction in Kenya, Elon and Alex knew the next step in Tesla's global energy mission would be the most challenging yet: China. The world's second-largest economy, a country with a population of over 1.4 billion people and the world's largest emitter of carbon dioxide, had the potential to be the crown jewel of Tesla's decentralized energy revolution, if they could break into it. For years, China had been investing heavily in renewable energy, but the energy market remained tightly controlled by state-owned entities. Despite their ambitious green energy goals, the government had a reluctance to embrace foreign technology, especially from companies like Tesla. The stakes were high. Success in China could position Tesla as the global leader in sustainable energy. Failure could mean the end of Tesla's dream of transforming the world's energy systems. Elon, Alex, and the rest of the Tesla team arrived in Beijing for a critical meeting with the State Grid Corporation of China, SGCC, one of the largest and most powerful electric utility companies in the world. SGCC had long been a monopoly on China's electric grid, and its relationship with foreign tech companies was delicate at best. Elon knew that direct confrontation wouldn't work. Tesla had to find a way to make China's centralized system work with their decentralized technology. "We're not here to compete with you," Elon began, as he sat down with SGCC executives in a conference room at the Great Wall Hotel. "We're here to help. We understand that your grid is massive, but it's also under immense pressure. Our goal is to complement your system, not replace it. We want to help you achieve your green energy targets faster and more efficiently. Together, we could revolutionize China's energy infrastructure, bringing clean, decentralized power to millions who still live in rural areas, and make your grid more reliable and resilient in the process." The SGCC executives exchanged glances, clearly skeptical. After a long silence, Zhao Li, a senior executive, finally spoke. "You talk about decentralization, but how can we trust a foreign company to handle something as important as China's energy grid?" Elon responded with calm confidence. "You're right to be cautious, But this is the future. China has already made massive strides in renewable energy, but decentralized solutions like solar microgrids are a game changer. We've proven it in India, we've proven it in Kenya, and we believe we can scale it here, safely and effectively. We can empower local communities, reduce your carbon footprint, and lower energy costs for your people. The room went silent again, the weight of Elon's words hanging in the air. Alex, who had been quietly observing, added, "We're not asking for a full transition overnight. But imagine a system where your grid doesn't collapse during peak usage. Imagine giving rural China the energy access it's been missing. We've been working on systems that can seamlessly integrate with your grid. It's not about replacing, it's about enhancing." After a long pause, Zhao Li nodded slowly, but his next words were loaded with challenge. "If you're serious, we'll need a pilot. A real one. We'll put you in a rural area where the grid is unreliable, but you'll have to prove that your system can function in a country as complex as China." Elon didn't hesitate. "We'll do it." Tesla's team traveled to Xinhua, a remote city in the Jiangsu province, where the central grid was sporadic at best. The people here lived in poverty, and the electricity they relied on often flickered out, leaving them in the dark for hours. The government had long promised to expand the grid to remote areas, but progress had been slow. For many in Xinhua, the lack of reliable energy was a daily struggle. The Tesla team quickly set up their solar-powered microgrid, along with power walls for battery storage. They connected the system to the local grid to demonstrate how Tesla's technology could integrate seamlessly with existing infrastructure, allowing the grid to continue functioning even when local power outages occurred. To their surprise, the system worked beautifully. Tesla's AI-driven software adjusted the energy flow dynamically, ensuring that excess solar power was stored in the power walls and used when demand peaked or when the grid failed. Residents saw an immediate improvement. The solar panels powered homes and businesses, empowering small entrepreneurs and allowing schools to stay open after dark. Elon stood on the roof of a small school in Xinhua, watching as the solar panels absorbed the sunlight. The change was palpable. Children were no longer using candles to study, and families were no longer relying on noisy, polluting diesel generators. But as the system gained momentum, a new challenge emerged. The local authorities, concerned about the economic power Tesla was gaining in this rural area, began pushing back. They feared that decentralizing energy would take away control from the centralized state grid, undermining the Communist Party's hold over the country's energy market. Tesla's success was too much of a threat to the status quo. The Chinese government, while interested in clean energy, had to balance its ambitions with its need to maintain control. A quiet but powerful political war began. The SGCC was under pressure from political insiders who felt that Tesla's system could diminish China's long-term energy security, and they began to hinder the pilot project. Despite this, the local officials in Xinhua stood by Tesla. Their constituents were happy with the results. Businesses were thriving, schools had light at night, and families had reliable energy for the first time. It was the perfect case study in how Tesla's technology could improve the lives of the people without disrupting national interests. It was then that Alex suggested something radical. They would lobby for the project to be integrated into China's Belt and Road Initiative, the government's global infrastructure development plan. By positioning Tesla's microgrid technology as a critical piece of China's vision for energy dominance in Asia and Africa, they could avoid the political pressure from within China's borders. "We can make China a leader in the global clean energy movement," Elon said, looking out over the horizon of Xinhua. "We just have to frame this the right way. If we can integrate Tesla's decentralized model into the Belt and Road framework, we'll be positioning China as the world's energy superpower." Alex worked tirelessly, using all his connections in Washington, Beijing, and Brussels to craft a diplomatic strategy that would align Tesla's decentralized energy model with China's long-term political and economic goals. After weeks of behind-the-scenes negotiations, a global partnership was forged. Tesla would provide microgrid solutions for China's Belt and Road Initiative projects in Africa and Asia, and in exchange, the Chinese government would allow Tesla to expand its technology across the country, including in major cities. The deal was announced with fanfare. Elon Musk and Chinese President Xi Jinping appeared together in a joint press conference, showcasing their shared vision of a clean, decentralized energy future for the world. The global energy revolution was no longer just an idea, it was a reality. The success in China had global implications. Tesla's model had now expanded into some of the most difficult and regulated markets on the planet. From the grids of Kenya to the hustling cities of India and the complex bureaucracy of China, Tesla's decentralized energy solutions were proving that the future of energy was no longer in the hands of monopolistic corporations or state-run utilities. It was in the hands of the people. But this was just the beginning. The world was changing, and Tesla was leading the way. With China's approval and a growing list of nations adopting decentralized energy models, Tesla was poised to fulfill its mission, to change the way the world generated and consumed power forever. With the Chinese deal signed and Tesla's presence solidified in Asia and Africa, the momentum was undeniable. The company had pushed through the tough political and bureaucratic battles in India, tackled the infrastructure gaps in Kenya, and now, after years of groundwork, had cracked open China's massive energy market. Tesla was on the verge of something bigger than anyone had anticipated. A global transformation in how the world would produce, consume, and think about energy. However, with global success came greater challenges. Elon Musk, the visionary who had once been viewed as a maverick, was now leading an organization that was in the crosshairs of some of the world's most powerful industries. Traditional energy giants, political leaders, and even climate change deniers. The fight for clean energy dominance had reached a critical moment. Tesla's decentralized energy system, a shining example of green innovation, was about to become the target of a global showdown between progress and resistance. As Tesla expanded its footprint across the globe, the oil and gas industry was rattled. For over a century, energy giants like ExxonMobil, Shell, and Chevron had held a monopoly over global energy production. Now, their entire business model was under threat. A clandestine coalition of industry leaders and political backers began to push back against Tesla's advancements. At the forefront was Hector Ramos, the CEO of PetroGlobal, one of the world's largest oil companies. Ramos was a towering figure in the energy world, known for his ruthlessness and his belief that fossil fuels would remain the backbone of the global economy for the foreseeable future. Ramos wasted no time organizing a massive lobbying campaign to discredit Tesla's energy model. He painted Tesla's decentralized energy system as an unrealistic pipe dream, a model that couldn't be scaled, couldn't meet the world's energy demands, and would undermine the stability of national economies. His goal was clear: stall Tesla's global expansion and maintain the status quo for as long as possible. Behind the scenes, the media also began to take a more critical stance. High-profile news outlets, especially those with ties to the traditional energy sector, began running articles that questioned Tesla's technology, its financial viability, and its ability to disrupt the global energy market. But Elon wasn't one to back down. "This is just the beginning," he told his team during a strategy meeting. "They're scared of what we're doing, but fear only means we're on the right path. We can't stop now." Elon was determined to turn the tables. With Alex and the rest of his leadership team at his side, he launched a counteroffensive that would not only defend Tesla's mission but elevate it to an entirely new level. The truth was that the world was changing, and quickly. Climate change had reached a tipping point. Natural disasters, heat waves, and droughts were becoming more frequent, while the scientific community was urging governments and corporations alike to drastically reduce their carbon emissions. For the first time in human history, the climate crisis was no longer a distant threat, it was happening now. Elon knew that the only way to win was to broaden the movement and bring in global allies. The time for isolationist policies or competitive games was over. Collaboration was the key to winning the fight for a sustainable energy future. Through a series of high-profile meetings and diplomatic efforts, Elon and Alex secured a groundbreaking partnership with some of the world's most influential international organizations: the United Nations, World Bank, and the International Energy Agency, IA. These organizations, long tasked with addressing global development and climate issues, saw Tesla as a potential ally in the global fight for clean energy transition. At the United Nations Climate Summit, Elon stood before world leaders and made an impassioned plea. "The future of our planet depends on how we choose to produce, distribute, and consume energy. Fossil fuels are no longer the solution. We must take bold, immediate steps to adopt decentralized energy systems that empower local communities and reduce our dependence on carbon-intensive energy sources. This is the only way to ensure a sustainable, livable planet for future generations." His words were met with a mix of skepticism and hope. But for the first time, world leaders from countries as diverse as Brazil, Germany, India, and even Russia began to seriously discuss the implications of Tesla's energy model on a global scale. With the support of global institutions and the growing public backing for renewable energy, Elon made the bold decision to challenge the status quo of energy monopolies head-on. Tesla would not just offer a product, it would offer an entirely new paradigm. The next big step was to tackle the legacy energy companies that had long controlled energy infrastructure, particularly the electric grid. In many countries, the grid was still run by massive corporations with deep political connections. These companies were powerful players with entrenched interests, and they didn't want to see their dominance eroded by a new energy model that threatened their profits. Elon knew that the only way to break their grip on global energy was to bring energy directly to the people, in homes, businesses, and cities worldwide. Tesla would become a direct competitor to traditional utilities. The first move came when Tesla unveiled the PowerNet, a blockchain-powered network that would allow individuals to trade solar energy directly with each other, bypassing the need for a central utility. This was a game-changer. People could now generate, store, and sell energy directly within their local communities, eliminating the need for traditional power providers. The PowerNet would create a global marketplace for clean energy, a decentralized peer-to-peer network of individuals who controlled their own energy futures. But as Tesla ramped up its efforts, the stakes grew higher. The response from the energy giants was swift and severe. PetroGlobal went all in, deploying a massive PR campaign to paint Tesla's new model as dangerous, claiming it would destroy jobs, undermine economic stability, and weaken national security. They accused Tesla of trying to monopolize energy itself by taking control of the global grid. Tesla wants to control the flow of energy, Hector Ramos declared in an exclusive interview. What they're offering isn't freedom, it's a power grab. Their decentralized model is just a Trojan horse for global domination. We cannot let them do this. Elon was undeterred. At a press conference in Los Angeles, he responded, "We're not trying to dominate anything. We're trying to save the planet. The status quo has led us to the brink of environmental collapse. If the oil companies think they can win this fight with outdated ideas and lies, they're wrong. This isn't a battle for control. It's a battle for survival." The war had officially begun. As the battle raged on, something remarkable began to happen. People, especially younger generations, started to pay attention. The public had begun to realize that Tesla wasn't just a company. It was a movement. It wasn't about flashy cars or space missions anymore. It was about creating a future where energy was clean, accessible, and sustainable for all. Across the globe, cities began to implement Tesla's decentralized energy solutions. Germany adopted solar plus storage systems for urban households. South Africa made strides in off-grid solar installations for its rural regions. Even California launched an initiative to provide free solar panels for low-income homes, with Tesla leading the charge. People didn't want to be trapped by the old ways of energy. They wanted freedom. They wanted the ability to control their own energy. And slowly but surely, the tide began to turn in Tesla's favor. As the battle for energy dominance raged on, the public's growing support for Tesla began to reshape the global energy conversation. The divide between the old guard, the fossil fuel industry, entrenched utilities, and their political allies, and the new wave of decentralization, innovation, and renewable energy had never been clearer. Tesla, once a company of outsiders, was now leading a global movement for change. In boardrooms, on social media, and in the streets, people were rallying behind the idea of decentralized energy. The PowerNet, Tesla's blockchain-powered platform, was becoming a symbol of empowerment as individuals and communities gained the ability to generate, store, and trade their own energy. The system was disrupting the very foundation of traditional energy markets, and it was showing no signs of slowing down. Elon Musk had always said that the future of energy belonged to the people. Now, it seemed that vision was becoming a reality. Communities around the world were not just adopting Tesla's technology, they were demanding it. From rural villages in Africa to urban centers in Europe, people were coming together to build self-sustaining energy systems. Alex, who had spent much of his time focusing on the political and economic strategy behind Tesla's global expansion, was now witnessing something even more powerful, the grassroots movement that was beginning to take shape. He visited Mexico, where a new coalition of local farmers and entrepreneurs had installed a large-scale solar microgrid to power their agriculture and small businesses. The grid wasn't just serving their immediate needs, it was giving them economic independence. "This is what it's all about, Alex," Elon had said to him on a phone call one evening. "These are the people who will push this revolution forward. It's not just about energy, it's about giving people the power to control their own futures." In India, the impact was even more profound. The rural poor, who had spent decades without reliable access to electricity, were now not only able to power their homes, but also generate extra energy to sell back to the grid. Tesla's Powerwall batteries were giving families the freedom to store energy during the day and use it at night. It was a revolution on the ground level, and it was spreading. Social media was also ablaze with people sharing their stories of how Tesla's decentralized energy solutions were transforming their lives. Hashtags like #PowerToThePeople and #TeslaEnergyRevolution began trending. And it wasn't just environmental activists leading the charge. Ordinary citizens were making their voices heard. Tesla's technology had become a tool for empowerment, and the more people used it, the more they wanted it. But as Tesla's influence grew, so did the pushback from the entrenched energy companies. They were not ready to lose their grip on the global market without a fight. Petroglobal and its allies were pulling out all the stops, using their vast political and legal resources to challenge Tesla's decentralized systems in courts around the world. The most significant challenge came from the United States, where a federal court was asked to determine the legality of Tesla's PowerNet system. The Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, FERC, which regulated the nation's energy market, had received numerous complaints from traditional utility companies, arguing that Tesla's platform violated existing laws about how energy should be bought and sold. The case was pivotal. A ruling against Tesla could throw a wrench into the company's entire decentralized energy model. But if Tesla won, it could set a legal precedent that would allow communities across the United States, and eventually the world, to build their own energy networks and challenge traditional energy monopolies. Elon, ever the visionary, had been ready for this. From the very beginning, he knew that the biggest obstacles Tesla would face wouldn't just be technical or financial. They would be legal and political. The traditional energy companies had deep pockets and were accustomed to using their influence to shape policy. Tesla, on the other hand, had the people on its side. Public support was overwhelming. Protests and petitions filled the streets of Washington, D.C., with people holding signs reading "Power to the People" and "Decentralize Energy, Decentralize Power." Elon appeared on national television shows, defending his vision for a clean, decentralized energy future, and making a case for why the current energy system was unsustainable and unjust. In a pivotal moment during the court hearings, Alex took the stand. With passion and clarity, he explained why Tesla's model wasn't just good for business. It was good for the planet and for society as a whole. We're talking about a future where communities are no longer at the mercy of monopolies. We're talking about a future where energy is affordable, clean, and within reach for everyone. That's the kind of world we want to create. The hearing lasted for hours, and the tension in the courtroom was palpable. But when the judge's gavel came down, it was a victory for Tesla. The court ruled that Tesla's PowerNet system was legal and that it could continue to expand, as long as it complied with certain safety regulations. Tesla had won an important legal battle, but the war was far from over. Energy giants like Petroglobal and their allies were not ready to concede defeat. With their immense resources, they began to fight back in more subtle ways, lobbying governments, funding negative campaigns, and pressuring political leaders. But the tide had already turned. More and more countries were embracing decentralized energy as the future, and the momentum behind Tesla's mission was unstoppable. In Europe, the European Union had already implemented a carbon tax, incentivizing the shift to clean energy. In Australia, Tesla's energy solutions were being adopted at a rapid pace to help with the country's grid challenges. Even in China, Tesla's involvement in the Belt and Road Initiative had turned the country into a leader in global renewable energy, showing that large-scale, decentralized systems could work alongside centralized ones. However, the final test came in the United States. Tesla's battle for energy independence would ultimately be decided on the political stage. The next presidential election would be a referendum on the future of energy in America. Would the country continue to prop up fossil fuels and monopolistic utilities? Or would it embrace a new era of clean, decentralized power? Elon knew the outcome of this battle wasn't just about Tesla, it was about the world. The future of humanity's survival depended on a global shift to sustainable, renewable energy. The world had changed, and with it, so had Tesla. The journey that had begun as a bold, audacious idea to change the way we think about energy had led to a tipping point, a moment where the future of humanity seemed to hinge on the outcome of a battle between the old guard of fossil fuels and the new wave of clean, sustainable, decentralized energy. Tesla wasn't just a company anymore. It had become the beacon of hope for a future where the world was powered by the people, not monopolistic corporations. The PowerNet had proven that decentralized energy could work on a global scale, and the public, fueled by grassroots movements, had already made their voices heard. The power to control energy was no longer reserved for the few. It was now in the hands of everyone. It had taken years of hard work, immense struggles, and countless obstacles to get here. But after a long and grueling battle, the day arrived when Tesla's vision for a decentralized energy future became a reality on a global scale. The United States, the last major holdout, had finally passed groundbreaking legislation that made it easier for individuals and communities to produce, store, and sell clean energy. The bill, known as the Clean Energy Empowerment Act, was a watershed moment in the global fight for climate change. It was passed with overwhelming support from citizens who had rallied behind Tesla's message of empowerment and sustainability. The old energy monopolies fought tooth and nail to prevent its passage, but in the end, it was the people who won. "This is the beginning of a new world," Elon said in his victory speech at the United Nations Climate Summit. "We've shown the world that it's not just about technology, it's about people. It's about giving everyone access to clean, renewable energy and freeing ourselves from the chains of fossil fuels. We're not just building a company, we're building a new world." The energy giants, once the undisputed kings of the industry, now found themselves on the defensive. PetroGlobal, ExxonMobil, and others were scrambling to adapt to the new reality. In the years that followed, many of them began to shift their focus toward renewable energy investments, hoping to adapt before they were left behind. Some, like Shell, attempted to integrate solar and wind power into their portfolios, while others struggled to evolve at all. For Elon and his team, however, the victory wasn't just about defeating the old guard. It was about creating a new paradigm, one that would ensure the survival of the planet and the well-being of future generations. One of the most exciting developments in the wake of the Clean Energy Empowerment Act was the creation of a global energy network, a vision that Elon and his team had dreamed about since the early days of Tesla. The PowerNet, originally a system designed for individual communities, had now grown into a truly global marketplace for clean energy, linking countries, regions, and cities across the world in a massive, decentralized web of energy exchange. This global energy network was made possible by advancements in blockchain technology and artificial intelligence, which allowed individuals, businesses, and entire nations to not only generate and consume energy, but to trade it with one another on an open, secure, and transparent platform. People were no longer limited to the grid or reliant on centralized utilities. They could create their own power, store it, and sell it, empowering communities to take control of their energy futures. Alex, who had always been deeply involved in the strategic planning of Tesla's global expansion, was now working with governments around the world to ensure that every region could benefit from this global energy revolution. His team had been instrumental in creating international agreements that facilitated cross-border energy trade, enabling countries with abundant solar or wind resources to share their surplus with regions that needed it most. For Alex, the most rewarding part of this work was seeing how the power dynamics of energy were shifting. Nations that had once been energy dependent were now becoming energy exporters. Countries like Brazil and Chile, with vast renewable resources, were quickly becoming leaders in the new global energy economy. "This is how we change the world," Alex thought, standing in the Solar City headquarters in San Francisco. "One community, one country, one generation at a time. Elon Musk had always been driven by a desire to leave a legacy, not just for himself, but for humanity. Over the years, he had created companies that revolutionized automotive technology, aerospace, neuroscience, and clean energy. But in many ways, Tesla was his greatest legacy, the company that would ultimately change the very way the world produced and consumed energy. Elon knew, however, that Tesla's success wasn't solely due to his own efforts. It had taken the collective work of thousands of employees, partners, investors, and, most importantly, people all over the world to make the dream a reality. In the end, it was the human spirit of innovation, collaboration, and perseverance that had won the day. As he sat in his office, gazing out at the Tesla Gigafactory in Nevada, Elon reflected on how far they had come. Tesla had started as a small startup, fighting against impossible odds. Now, it was the world's largest energy company, with a global reach that spanned every continent. "We've made a dent in the universe," Elon said quietly to himself, thinking of the road ahead. But there's still so much more to do. Tesla's mission was far from over. There were still challenges to face, new markets to conquer, and greater goals to achieve. But for the first time, Elon felt a sense of peace. The battle had been long and hard, but the future was now in the hands of those who truly believed in a cleaner, brighter world. The global energy revolution had begun, but it was only the first chapter in humanity's journey toward a sustainable future. The rise of renewable energy and the decentralization of power were already having ripple effects across every industry, from transportation to agriculture to urban planning. The age of energy independence was upon us. Elon knew that the work was far from finished. There were still challenges to face, obstacles to overcome, and innovations to create. But as Tesla's mission continued to unfold, one thing was clear: the world had changed forever. "We've started something," Elon mused, watching the sun set over the Tesla Gigafactory. "And the best part is, it's just getting started." Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. What do you think of Tesla's journey toward revolutionizing the world's energy systems? How do you see the future of clean energy unfolding in the next decade? Let's continue the conversation and explore what's possible when we all work together to create a sustainable future.